subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Iron Man was born. Immediately afterwards, the illusion arranged by Lynn disappeared, and everyone in the X-Men reappeared in sight. Adam Robert and others had ghost-like expressions, which added another dramatic touch to this unprecedented live broadcast. Color. Only then did the audience react. It turns out that the X-Men didn't get caught at all. Let me just say, they're all people with super abilities. How could they be so easily plotted against? So, the pictures just now are all fake? What about Wilhelm Stryker's video call? Could it be fake too? That must be true. Just look at the expressions of those soldiers. Only Iron Man saw the real scene, so he felt weird. The news has been broadcasted until now, and there are countless people who watch this channel. The turbulent public opinion has gathered into a stormy sea. At this moment, everyone was staring at the screen intently. They desperately wanted to know the truth, and the best way to get the truth was undoubtedly to catch Adam Robert and others and confront Wilhelm Stryker in court. The appearance of Iron Man is like a referee. This confrontation has been made possible. He can do it. As a result, some people blurted out, some roared in their hearts. Countless sound waves, soundless and soundless, converged into one sound. Grab those soldiers and find out where Wilhelm Stryker is, as if responding to a wave of justice. On screen, things are definitely going in this direction. Chapter 50 Deadpool debuts. Wilhelm Stryker's backhand. In the church, Adam Robert didn't know what was going on outside. But after he was dazed, he reacted instantly. Got it. Although he didn't know exactly what the trap was like, and he didn't know why Iron Man suddenly appeared. But there's one thing. He has an absolutely clear understanding the words I said. Just now must not be spread. Once it gets out, the Colonel will finish playing directly. I will be doomed too. So, without any hesitation, he raised the weapon in his hand and said two cold words, "Fire." The trigger is pulled, and the bullet is fired instantly. Da-da-da. A dozen special elites inside the church moved after hearing the sound. Densely packed bullets shot at Wolverine and the others from all angles. At the same time, there were also bang and bang sounds outside the church, and smoke bombs were fired in. They still want to kill in silence. The audience who saw this scene exclaimed in unison. But this time, the X-Men obviously won't be dealt with easy like before. Phoenix spoke coldly. Ever since she heard Wilhelm Stryker's plan to use the brainwave strengthening device to eliminate all mutants, her heart was filled with anger and fear. In the depths of the soul, the Phoenix force surged violently. However, this time, it seemed to respond to her mood. Instead of causing her to lose control of her emotions, it made her ability display several times stronger power than before. She stretched out both hands at the same time. Her left hand faced the bullet in front, and her right hand raised to face the smoke bomb falling in the air. The scene where time seemed to stop appeared again. Even though Adam Robert and others frantically pulled the trigger, none of the bullets could get close to the target. Phoenix raised his eyebrows slightly, and all the bullets quietly turned around, targeting a dozen special forces. Where is Wilhelm Stryker? Adam Roberts will definitely not respond. There was not even a trace of fear in his eyes. Careful. Wolverine and Cyclops noticed this and spoke almost simultaneously. As soon as the voice started, tearing air sounds roared. I saw a series of black figures smashing through the window, turning their bodies in midair and killing everyone at extremely fast speed. There were a total of 7 of these people. All of them were tall and strong, holding long knives, with no expression on their stern faces and even less expression in their eyes, like a humanoid machine without emotion. Blade's direction is all directed at Phoenix. Cyclops and Wolverine definitely won't let them succeed. In the blink of an eye, the former presses the eye switch with his right hand, and a dazzling red light shoots out, hitting 3 targets in a row. Wolverine also leaped a few meters. Adamantium claws clang, and clang stretched out, piercing the chests of the 2 targets in the air. At the same time, he also kicked someone with both feet. 3 in a row, landing heavily. Wolverine makes a move, and the domineering side leaks. What surprised him was that the 2 men in black who had been pierced in the chest didn't seem to notice it, and the long knife in their hands suddenly turned upside down, stabbing one left and one right under his ribs. The same goes for the target who was stepped on, and the long knife was directly wiped towards his neck. Shit, Wolverine cursed secretly. He had recovered his memory, and the scene in front of him reminded him of too many bad memories. These people are the experimental subjects of the X-Weapon project, using my self-healing gene. He quickly reminded loudly. At the same time, raise your right knee and kick away the knife-holding hand of the target under your feet. Then, ignoring the severe pain coming from under the ribs, the 2 claws exerted force at the same time. And with such a powerful force, the bodies of the 2 targets on the left and right were torn apart. Blood gushed out, and the faces of the 2 experimental subjects suddenly turned pale. Their self-healing gene level is very low, and they cannot recover after being severely injured. Wolverine's eyes lit up. I know Cyclops' angry voice came, and the 3 people who were pierced by his laser light had a big hole in their bodies, and they flew upside down and hit the ground, unable to get up for a long time. He turned his eyes, trying to lock on to the last person. But this person is obviously different from the other 6. Her speed was obviously faster. After landing, she suddenly jumped, and her speed suddenly increased. She threw the long knife in her hand directly, and took advantage of the gap of Cyclops to avoid, and flew in front of Phoenix. Clang! In her hands, bone claws also stretched out. Needless to say, this is also one of the test subjects of the Wolverine self-healing gene, and a higher-level test subject. Death Woman. You don't think I can't activate the ability because I don't have both hands free? Phoenix had a strange look on his face and didn't make any movements. The psychokinesis had already been activated. The Death Girl's bone claws were about to hit her, but they suddenly stopped in the air. I admit that you are very powerful, but your people are too few. Phoenix was startled and felt tearing air sounds behind him, but it turned out to be the Nightcrawler that she had ignored, jumping up from the ground abruptly and stabbing at the back of her neck with its hook-like tail. Turns out this guy was in control all along. Humph! When the time was running out, Kin Gray snorted coldly in her heart, and she was about to activate the Phoenix force in her body desperately. But at the moment, Tony, who had been watching the excitement for a long time, suddenly raised his right hand, and a pulse gun shot out, hitting Nightcrawler. I said, "It's still live broadcasting now, and you're so blatantly killing people in silence. Don't you think I'm not in your eyes?" Tony stood up in the air, complaining with a strange expression. He is very clear that his task today is to be a witness. Didn't expect things to turn out this way. Although I don't know why Lynn hasn't made a move yet, but now that he's here, he obviously can't just sit and watch the X-Men lose and lose. After all, countless audiences are watching. Today's big villain is only Wilhelm Stryker. Thinking of this, Tony controls the battle suit and prepares to make a beautiful dive to end the battle. But at the moment, a red light, no less than Cyclops, suddenly appeared and hit his chest. Boom! Tony crashed right through the church and flew out. At the same time, a man wearing a red and black battle suit, a mask, and 2 steel knives extending out of his hands appear behind Phoenix, as if teleporting out of thin air. This is impossible. Wolverine, who happened to turn her head to see this scene, suddenly widened her eyes as if seeing a ghost. "I have already killed you." He got no response, but the man with the steel knife glanced at him, his eyes flashed red, and the laser light pierced his body on the spot. At the same time, a figure sneaked in from outside the church, approaching Eddie Locke silently. Apparently, his target was the camera. Obviously, Wilhelm Stryker was really well prepared for this operation. The audience before the live broadcast all gasped when they saw this. Chapter 51 in Mutants' Eyes, You Are Nothing. Lake Alkali, the secret research base of Weapon X, Wilhelm Stryker's office. A portal quietly appeared. The next moment, under Wilhelm Stryker's horrified and desperate eyes, Lynn's figure slowly walked out of the door, and behind him are Magneto and Mystique. Colonel Stryker, long time no see." With a smile on her face, Lynn greeted her politely like a real visitor. Magneto had no expression on his face, but a killing intent flashed in his eyes. Mystique simply put this killing intent on his face. As for Wilhelm Stryker, they used to think of him as a military general who was hostile to mutants. There is no doubt that this is a life and death enmity. "It's you. You saved Magneto. You blocked my base. It was you who planned all this and wanted me to be doomed." Wilhelm Stryker was taken aback when he saw the three of them appearing, but then he understood everything, almost gritted his teeth, and said word by word. Hateful eyes stared at Lynn. "Can't wait to eat Lynn alive. It seems that Alice has already greeted you." Lynn turned a blind eye to his gaze and said lightly, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Lynn, and I am a student of Xavier's school. Charles asked me to say hello to you, but I think you may not accept his kindness." The corners of Wilhelm Stryker's mouth twitched, his face grim. Lynn hardly hides her victorious attitude, and this gesture was supposed to be used by him to face Mutant. "How on earth did you know about my plan?" Wilhelm Stryker took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. "Only Adam Robert and me and a handful of people in the entire base know about Nightcrawler's assassination of the president, and I'm sure none of them leaked the news. It has to be said that this person is indeed a character. In this case, he can still maintain a trace of demeanor." However, instead of answering his question, Lynn just smiled dismissively. "Ew. Have you misunderstood your own strength?" After entering the base, Lynn's whole person became a bit sharp. "It's Mutant that you want to destroy in your heart. Mutant's super ability is full of wonders. Knowing your plan, is it strange?" As soon as these words came out, Magneto and Mystique were a little surprised. They could feel that Lynn didn't seem to like Wilhelm Stryker at all, and didn't even put him in his eyes from the beginning to the end. Wilhelm Stryker felt the contempt. His whole body trembled with anger. It seems that dealing with Mutant was too smooth in the past, which gave you an inexplicable confidence in yourself, and Charles's kindness magnified your ambition. Lynn's eyes were burning, and he said every word. "But obviously, you don't understand the truth. Professor X can take your life with just one thought, and Magneto can wipe out your entire base. In Mutant's eyes, your so-called Weapon X program. Nothing." Magneto's eyes flashed suddenly. As the person in charge of the military's Weapon X program, Wilhelm Stryker is undoubtedly a truly powerful figure, which can be seen from his ability to plan a plan to eliminate Mutant. However, Lynn's few words undoubtedly trampled all his pride on the ground. Wilhelm Stryker's eyes suddenly turned red. "Why?" Dissatisfied, Lynn's smile didn't change at all. "The reason why you can play these schemes is because you are hiding in the dark and haven't been discovered by Charles. It's a joke, isn't it?" Ha ha! The unscrupulous humiliation made Wilhelm Stryker laugh back angrily. "What do you think a fabricated live video can do to me? Everyone in the base can attest that I have never sent Adam Roberts' special operations team on a mission, nor have I ever had a video call with him. Send these evidences to the White House, and everyone will know that I am innocent. The so-called live broadcast is just a conspiracy of your mutants." Lynn waited quietly for him to finish. The sarcasm at the corner of his mouth grew stronger. "Isn't it interesting to lie to yourself like this?" Shaking his head, Lynn actually asked a serious question. Just one sentence. The momentum that Wilhelm Stryker had accumulated with great difficulty disappeared in smoke. "You don't know yet, do you?" Lynn took out her mobile phone, and under Alice's control, a light curtain was projected in front of Wilhelm Stryker. "The live broadcast is not over yet. The White House's statement came out, and you're going to have a public trial." The title of the statement was huge, and Wilhelm Stryker saw it at a glance, and his vision went dark. "And it's not over yet." Lynn flicked her finger and changed to another news interface. In less than a minute, the spokesperson of the Ministry of National Defense also issued a statement, claiming that your plot to assassinate the president was purely personal and had nothing to do with the military. "Look, the military executives sold you out directly. They didn't even mention investigating the truth." Wilhelm Stryker staggered and almost fell limp to the ground. Although he had expected this, he still didn't expect it. How could I be given up so simply and so thoroughly? This is to sacrifice oneself to appease the anger of the White House. A group of despicable and shameless villains. At this moment, anger, panic, fear, despair, like torrents gathered in Wilhelm Stryker's heart. His eyes were red like blood, and he was on the verge of collapse. But what Magneto and Mystique didn't expect was that he was not completely desperate, but stared at Lynn like a poisonous snake. Even if I was betrayed, do you think you mutants won? The matter over the church is not over yet. When he said this, there was a strange smile on the corner of his mouth. Did you mean him? Lynn sat behind Wilhelm Stryker's desk, turned the computer screen, and faced him directly. This person is your trump card? In a live broadcast, it happened to be the time when Deadpool appeared and the X-Men were in danger. Yes, his name is Wade Wilson, and he is my favorite work besides Wolverine. Wilhelm Stryker hissed, revealing the madness of a hero's end. If you dare to kill me, he will kill all the X-Men and be buried with me. At this time, he actually wanted to threaten Lynn with the lives of all the X-Men. Lynn is happy. You have Deadpool, I have Iron Man, and I'm still there. Chapter 52, Real Mirror Image and Space Magic. Inside the church, Deadpool's sudden appearance undoubtedly exceeded everyone's expectations, especially Wolverine Logan. After recovering his memory, he has already remembered what happened back then, and he has an extraordinary understanding of Deadpool Wade Wilson, a former colleague and later enemy, because this guy used his X gene for experiments. So at the very beginning, this guy's abilities were only super self-healing, super strength, speed, and reaction. He was good at wielding dual knives. Although he was in the first echelon of X weapons, it was not outrageous. But later, Wilhelm Stryker went crazy and injected the X gene of Cyclops and Ghost into this guy. The most important thing is that this guy survived the conflict of the three X genes. Therefore, Wilhelm Stryker sealed his never-ending mouth and implanted some kind of control chip in his body, turning him into the strongest weapon under his command. To this day, Logan will always remember that in that battle, he and Sabretooth teamed up to fight Deadpool, but they were almost unable to fight back. If it weren't for the proper cooperation between the two and good luck, it would be impossible to kill each other. But now it seems this guy's self-healing ability is not inferior to his own. His head was cut off by adamantium claws, and he fell to pieces from a high altitude, and he was able to recover. Guys, we're in big trouble. Hit by Deadpool's laser light, Logan didn't suffer too much damage, but his face turned gloomy for an instant. Needless to say, Phoenix and Cyclops also understand that the situation is not optimistic. Deadpool's double knives had crossed to the former's head. She doesn't have the self-healing gene. She will definitely die if her head falls off when time is running out. Hey, a bunch of idiots, have you forgotten me? Storm's cold voice came from outside the door, and before her voice spread, 2 bolts of lightning had already struck out of thin air. One of the lightning bolts directly knocked away the experimental subject who was close to the camera and wanted to assassinate Eddie Locke, and the other one crackled towards Deadpool. Adam Robert was no surprise. Since Wolverine and others did not fall into a coma, the storm outside definitely cannot be easily dealt with. Everything is just an illusion. The speed of lightning is extremely fast. Although Deadpool has a super self-healing ability, he doesn't want to fight hard. So he quickly activates the teleportation ability obtained from the Ghost and is about to transfer the battlefield. It has to be said that for an X-weapon with a full level of close combat like him, the teleportation ability is simply a bug. That's why Wilhelm Stryker used him as his whole card. But the moment he launched the teleport, there seems to be a voice vaguely passed into the ears. Space imprisoned, as if the words could not be followed. An invisible force emerged from the sky, sealing off all the spaces inside and outside the church in an instant. Deadpool's eyes suddenly widened. His teleportation failed unexpectedly. In a daze, the lightning had struck his body. Even though he had a super strong physique, his whole body was still numb and his muscles ached from the shock. but he is worthy of being an elite X-weapon that has been fought for a long time. In this case, he turned sideways and backed away. But at the moment, the tearing air sounds of comma, comma, comma sounded, and densely packed, small howitzers shot in from a hole on the top of the church. The figure of Iron Man followed closely behind. "My friend who came out of nowhere, the way you greet me is not very friendly." Tony was clearly upset when he got hit by a laser beam for no reason. There was a chill in the voice. Dozens of mini howitzers hit Deadpool directly, exploding in an instant. Bang, 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 his body was blown away on the spot, and the battle suit on his body was directly turned into fly ash under the double blow of lightning and howitzers. In an instant, all the viewers who saw this scene through the live broadcast were all frightened. What kind of body is this? Even if the face and even the whole body were disfigured, even the mouth was sewn up. Great gift crab special. Is this the X-weapon plan? It's so cruel. I don't treat people like people. After the shock, anger against Wilhelm Stryker soared again. However, Deadpool himself definitely couldn't feel this anger. He lost his most mobile teleportation ability, and just as his body fell to the ground, the red light of Cyclops burst out. Completely out of instinct, the red light in his eyes also flashed. The laser light meets the laser light. The void meets the wave in an instant, and the dazzling red light fills the entire church. However, this pair of waves only lasted for less than a few seconds before disappearing, because in just a few seconds, Wolverine had already dealt with her opponent, and with a leap, she appeared behind Deadpool's head, stretched out her claws condescendingly, and slammed down. Chi and chi twice. The adamantium claws easily penetrated Deadpool's shoulder blades on both sides. Severe pain hit him, but he couldn't make a sound. The red light in his eyes suddenly disappeared, and the red light of Cyclops drove straight in and hit his abdomen. At the same time, Storm took out a metal ball and threw it over. With a few swoosh and swoosh, it turned into a metal rope that shone with lightning, as if it had spirituality, binding his whole body firmly. This rope is obviously Storm's exclusive equipment. Once it is bound, it will be attacked by lightning all the time, and it will fall into a state of paralysis. Even so, it's still not safe enough for a target that teleports. Then a pale white light fell from the sky and entered Deadpool's body. Mind imprisoned, just like the space confinement just now. It is a genuine 5-ring magic. In an instant, Deadpool felt a burst of fatigue that he had never experienced before, and everything in front of him seemed to become farther and farther away in an instant. At the last moment, when his consciousness sank into the darkness, he seemed to see a handsome young man standing on the beam above him. Wolverine leaned down and sneered in his ear. "You may not know one thing. Our X-Men are not only powerful, but our number is never too small. Lynn alone is worth an army." Deadpool could no longer hear him. But at the last moment of looking at each other across the air, he vaguely understood the meaning contained in the gaze of the young man. Above this gaze was not aimed at him, but for Wilhelm Stryker behind him. "Look, Mutant has more cards than you. All this is a long story, but in fact it is only a few breaths." At the same time that Deadpool was beaten and solved, Phoenix controlled the bullets flying backwards and passed by the bodies of Adam Robert and others, submerged in the space behind them among the walls. "So far, you still haven't revealed the whereabouts of Wilhelm Stryker?" In a live broadcast, even though she was extremely angry, she did not kill anyone. But passing Death God, Adam Robert, and others suddenly stopped breathing, and the hand holding the gun seemed to have lost all strength and could no longer pull the trigger. As far as the eye can see, all the Colonel's preparations, it all seems to be in vain. The only Death Girl who was intact was also held in the air, unable to even struggle a little bit. For a moment, there was only one thought in Adam Roberts' mind. The tide is gone. Chapter 53, thanks to years of care, Mutant will be repaid 100 times today. Weapon X program base. Through the screen, Wilhelm Stryker clearly saw Deadpool's defeat process, as if he had been hit on the head with a sap. His eyes went black for a while, and he could no longer stand up. This is impossible," He closed his lips, and it took him a long time to say such a sentence. Obviously, he couldn't accept that his strongest hole card was dealt with so easily. Before taking action, the plan was extremely thorough. Those people from X-Men cannot be Wade's opponent. But the result? How could this be? I'm not afraid to tell you. This is my magic called true mirror image. Lynn's voice came to his ears, and he was very considerate to help him out. This magic can duplicate a mirror image duplication, and it has all my strengths. That is to say, although I'm talking to you here, the church over there, and there's also one who is in charge of the overall situation. This is not so much for Wilhelm Stryker as it is for Magneto and Mystique. The two trembled when they heard this. Looking at Lynn's eyes again, I feel that this young mutant is really unfathomable to an unfathomable level. Copy a mirror image duplication of equal strength. What kind of terrible method is this? Magneto couldn't help but tremble a little at the thought of two of himself shooting at the same time. To you, Wilhelm Stryker obviously couldn't understand the magic of magic at all. At this moment, his face was already pale, and there was no trace of blood anymore. Because in the live broadcast, Adam Robert didn't have any hesitation, so he told the location of the base. Reporters from X-Men, NYPD, and Global Daily took the captives, boarded the Blackbird fighter plane, and flew towards Alkali Lake. Iron Man has even gone one step further. At their speed, they can reach here in at most 20 minutes. When the time comes, what greets me will be a public trial by countless viewers on the entire network. The damn mutant in front of him made it clear that he wanted to spread the impact of the matter to the maximum, forcing the White House and the top military officials to skip the normal judicial process and directly convict himself. This is killing, and killing one's heart. Things have reached this stage, and it is completely irreversible. I lost. The expression on Wilhelm Stryker's pale face changed, as if he was still thinking of a solution to the situation, but he finally closed his eyes in dejection and despair. He seemed to be 10 years old in an instant, staring straight at Lynn. My biggest mistake is that I didn't expect that there would be a character like you in Mutant, compared to Magneto and Professor X. He glanced at Magneto, showing a hint of disdain. If the mutants are always led by them, I will definitely be able to complete the great cause of eradicating all mutants. Perhaps this is God's punishment for us ordinary humans. Magneto's expression didn't change at all. He obviously wouldn't be angry at the contempt of a dying man. Great cause? You really put gold on your face. Lynn smiled. His eyes became cold as ice in an instant, as if two sharp knives pierced Wilhelm Stryker's mind. Mutant isn't a human? Don't forget, your son is also a mutant. He was conceived by your wife in October. It's just that in the process of human evolution, the gene has changed. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't control his super ability, causing your wife to suffer from hallucinations, and finally committed suicide unbearably, wouldn't you have always loved him more? So, to put it bluntly, you hate Mutant never because Mutant threatens the life and death of human beings, but just because you don't want to admit that your wife-killing enemy is your own son. Don't you dare to face this and put it all down to all the mutants. You are just a coward escaping from reality. If we talk about the previous conversation, it is just that Lynn, as a winner, is declaring his victory to the loser. So at this moment, these eloquent words are the real, heartbreaking words, and scrupulously dug out the sad and shameful heart of Wilhelm Stryker. He broke the defense on the spot. You actually call me a coward? Like a fox whose tail has been trampled on, his old face suddenly turned from pale to red, and his limp body got up from the ground, roaring and roaring. The super ability of Mutant can kill ordinary people casually. If you let your development continue, you will occupy more and more resources and more living space. At that time, all human beings will be reduced to slaves will perish in the end. Perhaps you haven't done this yet, but the powerful ability will definitely slowly breed huge amounts of ambition. Such a simple truth those gentlemen in the White House don't understand, and neither do those stupid people. Do you think I don't understand either? I have lost now, You can kill me, you can humiliate me, but you must not insult me. I, Wilhelm Stryker, die for the survival of mankind. I am a hero. He said the word hero firmly and resoundingly. Both Magneto and Mystique were stunned. They had never seen such a brazen person. Lynn's smile grew brighter. First, if something like super ability is only mastered by a very small number of people, it will indeed breed ambition, crime, and threaten human safety. But when the number reaches a certain level, it will slowly form a rule, and this rule will gradually integrate with the rules of normal society and produce binding force. In this way, it will not have an unscrupulous impact on human beings. And obviously, the number of mutants is increasing, and they have appeared on a large scale. This is the evolution of the entire human population, and it cannot be stopped at all. Mutant is just getting ahead of the curve. This is the knowledge of sociology that can be learned in college. You don't understand it at all? You don't even understand that if you go against the trend, you will be crushed to pieces by the torrent of history. Don't people in your military read books? He said calmly and indifferently, and raised two fingers at the same time. Second, more and more resources are in the hands of mutant. Why not? A person like you can occupy a high position, and mutant, who has a smarter head and a stronger body than you, can't do better than you? To put it bluntly, you are jealous of mutant super ability because you don't have it. I'm also afraid of the brain of the mutant because it will cause a huge change in the entire society, and it will have an unprecedented impact on the status of a vegetarian like you. So, where did you get the courage to say that you are a hero? After finishing this sentence, Lynn has no intention of talking nonsense with Wilhelm Stryker. He waved his hand and opened the portal. Say hello to Magneto, and Mystique is leaving. Behind him, Wilhelm Stryker was sweating profusely, and the blood on his face receded again, replaced by a dead gray. You really want to rule? If it is said that Magneto's plan to wipe out all human beings, in the eyes of a senior human being who knows many secrets like him, it can only be regarded as a moderate threat, not a big deal. So at this moment, after seeing Lynn's methods, he just felt his scalp go numb. Don't be afraid that mutant has a super ability, but be afraid that mutant has a brain. Such a mutant with unfathomable abilities and methods has even greater ambitions than Magneto. For someone like him, it is undoubtedly a bolt from the blue. He needs me to appear on the live broadcast, so he won't kill me. At this moment, Wilhelm Stryker stared at Lynn's back, and the thoughts in his heart rolled again. When the X-Men come, I must make all of this person's plots and truths public. By the time you won't tell. Lynn, who was about to walk into the portal, suddenly turned around and looked at him with a smile. I forgot to tell you, your current value is to wait for the X-Men to come to your door and let the world know what you and the military have done things. So my visit is just to delay a little time so that you don't have a chance to do anything else. In other words, our conversation just now, everything that happened in this office. You don't remember anything. Of course, I won't talk nonsense. Wilhelm Stryker obviously didn't expect that Lynn could hear his heart clearly. You are also a spiritual ability. He came to his senses in horror. Who the hell are you? You have so many super abilities. He is destined to never get an answer to this question, because the fingers of Lynn's right hand were already aimed at his forehead. A moment of forgetting is empty. A ray of light shot out. Wilhelm Stryker was suddenly enveloped by an unprecedented sense of foreboding. Then, the whole world seemed to disappear. Faintly, he seemed to hear Lynn's domineering answer. My name is Lynn, King of Mutants. Thanks to the care of Colonel Wilhelm Stryker for many years, mutant today, 100-fold. Magneto and Mystique, who just stepped into the portal, heard this voice. The body trembled uncontrollably for a moment. Chapter 54. Hell on Earth. Tony's anger. On the cold ground, Wilhelm Stryker was unconscious for 20 minutes before waking up. Apart from a headache, he didn't feel any other discomfort, but there was a trace of confusion in his eyes. In my mind, everything that happened in the past hour or so was completely blank. The memory stays in the moment when I saw the X-Men statement from the internet. Did I sleep in the office for more than an hour? It's not right. as a self-disciplined person, he finds this a bit unbelievable. Now is the critical moment of the plan. No matter how tired he is, how can he sleep in the office? Wait, what were you doing before you fell asleep? By the way, the X-Men gang suddenly issued such a statement, as if they were very confident in catching the assassin. This is very wrong. We must contact Adam Robert immediately. Shaking his head, Wilhelm Stryker hurriedly stood up, ready to make a phone call. But at the moment, there was a violent knock on the office door. A trace of anger suddenly appeared on his face. He turned his head and glanced at the one-sided glass, only to find that the outside has become a mess, and everyone is running around. An ominous premonition suddenly flooded into his heart, and he quickly opened the door. What's going on outside? The moment he opened the door, he felt something strange. This door, I don't seem to be locked. Before he could think about it, a terrified face appeared in sight. Colonel, the X-Men are calling in. What? Wilhelm Stryker was stunned and didn't react at all. What did they call in? Aren't they going to catch Nightcrawler? Kindness. The subordinate who knocked on the door was also confused. Colonel, what are you talking about? That happened more than half an hour ago. The special team brought by Captain Robert, as well as Deathwoman and Wade Wilson's Weapon X team, were all captured at the church. The whole process was broadcast live, and you could see it directly on the news. Although the face of this subordinate was full of horror, he couldn't help showing a strange look. If he hadn't finally knocked on the door, he would have thought the colonel had been assassinated in his office. How do you feel? The colonel doesn't seem to know anything about the whole thing. More than half an hour ago, Wilhelm Stryker's expression changed drastically, and he subconsciously looked at the timer hanging outside. In the next moment, he couldn't restrain himself from trembling. He had only slept for a while. How did things develop to this point? With all the best, you can't even handle a few X-Men? And was it taken over by someone in turn? FK, what the hell is going on? Having lost part of his memory, he couldn't figure out why. He subconsciously grabbed his subordinate's collar and shouted angrily, "Why didn't you notify me of such a big matter?" We informed, Colonel. The officer under his command looked innocent. The incident at the church just happened. We came to you as soon as possible. It was you who said you could solve it yourself, so we don't have to worry. Don't bother you. I said it myself. Even if Wilhelm Stryker lacked memory, he still felt that something was wrong, and his eyes flickered with shock, doubt, and disbelief. But at this time, there is obviously no time for him to find the answer. Boom! With a loud bang, the last layer of defense of the base was mercilessly smashed to pieces by Iron Man's pulse cannon. Figures rushed in from outside. The live broadcast of the Global Daily has continued. Even during the 20-minute boring flight, no one changed the channel. Arriving at the dam of Alkali Lake, Eddie Bullock immediately picked up the camera, followed the X-Men, and continued to explain on the spot. Viewers, we have come to the experimental base of the X-Weapon Project. Mr. Tony Stark has arrived first, and is looking for the secret entrance that Adam Roberts said. I don't know if Colonel Wilhelm Stryker will stay here after watching our live broadcast. Without saying a few words, I saw Iron Man, who arrived first. After searching for a while, he found the secret entrance of the base and blasted away. The X-Men followed quickly. Eddie was holding the camera, surrounded by Catherine and others from the NYPD. Compared with the well-trained detectives, his physical strength was obviously much weaker. But at the moment, he was more excited than everyone else, and he didn't feel hard at all. The screen advances all the way. After entering the base, Iron Man didn't use any more firepower, but went on a rampage all the way, knocking all the guards along the way into the air. Soon, the secret laboratory of the X-Weapon Project was exposed to all audiences. It can be seen that the interior space of this base is not large, but there are quite a lot of people, and it is divided into several floors. There is nothing unusual about the top layer, but on the second and third floors, the faces of Eddie Locke and all the audience changed. There are hundreds of iron cages densely packed here, and each mutant is locked in an extremely small space like a prisoner. These mutants have all kinds of super abilities, but they are all targeted without exception. Ice-type ability, a layer of high-temperature glass, shines on the outside of the cage. Those who can control the fire. There are low-temperature injectors around the cage, spraying from time to time. Those with wings on their backs were directly locked in midair by a few iron chains. There are also many people who are simply tied to the table, with dense experimental equipment inserted into their bodies. Some experimental equipment even goes directly into the throat and into the brain. The faint wailing sound echoed in this space almost all the time, and every mutant in sight was too horrible to look at. The audience can even see that some of them don't have super abilities. Obviously, they are all experimental subjects of ordinary humans. Everyone who saw this scene fell silent. The four of the X-Men were even more furious. With a roar, Wolverine stretched out her adamantium claws and jumped out. While running wildly, she tore apart all the drag chains of the cages. "Stryker, you are damned!" Angry roars resounded throughout the audience. The military has been conducting such inhumane experiments. At the same time, Iron Man came to the central computer on the third floor. Under the pulse gun, all the experimenters squatted obediently. He manipulated it proficiently, and one after another data was drawn across the big screen. Eddie Locke hastily aimed at the camera. Immediately, the audience saw the information of each experimental subject. One of them is Nightcrawler, and the experiments he has experienced are almost all brain fluid control. Sure enough, the man behind the assassination of the president is Wilhelm Stryker. At the moment, even those who reject mutant no longer doubt this point. Most importantly, they have seen a lot of things from these materials. List of mutants to be captured. Most of them have normal families, and their parents have legitimate jobs. Teenagers, even children, not in the minority. At this moment, even Tony's face couldn't help but feel a chill. Madman. He found the inner entrance, blasted it open with a cannonball, and broke in. "Wilhelm Stryker, I assure you in the honor of the Stark family, you can only spend the rest of your life in prison." Wilhelm Stryker, who had just come out of the office, fell limply on the ground again. What is the situation? Why is Iron Man there? Why are there reporters behind the X-Men? Is that guy still broadcasting live? FK. This roar that integrated doubts, anger, unwillingness, and despair officially announced the era of Wilhelm Stryker, and it came to an end. Mutants' revenge, although late, has arrived. And murderous. Chapter 55, Save the White Queen. While the X-Men were sweeping the base, Lynn had a slightly weird expression on his face. After sending Magneto and Mystique away, he returned to the base alone, but he did not join Logan and others, but came to a secret place. If Alice hadn't invaded the control system of the base, he wouldn't even know. 50 meters below this base, there is actually a special space. The space is not too big, only about 1,000 square meters, and it is divided into rooms, most of which are archived materials of the X-Weapon program, as well as some special laboratories. In the entire base, only Wilhelm Stryker's authority can reach here. Therefore, at this moment, the place is empty. Only in a special cell in the deepest part is a mutant imprisoned. Lynn is standing at the door of this cell at this moment, looking at the man inside through a window cut by metal magic. So, you're a candidate for Wilhelm Stryker's plan to destroy mutant. Wilhelm Stryker's plan has two cores. One is a brain-wave strengthening device, and the other one is naturally Professor X's powerful mind ability. But Professor X is not so easy to catch after all, even if caught. In case of any accident during the operation, or the ability of Professor X is too strong, Jason's brain fluid is not enough to control one Tet. The whole plan is about to fall through. Wilhelm Stryker obviously cannot accept such an accident. Therefore, it is very necessary to have a spiritual ability that can replace Professor X. You are very smart. You thought of it all at once. The prisoner in the room smiled sweetly, and he was full of amorous feelings. For his plan, he dredged everywhere, and it took him several years to transfer me from the Trask laboratory. This turned out to be a woman. She has blonde hair, short skirt, leather pants, high heels, and a white cape, which perfectly shows her graceful and exquisite figure. When she was speaking, she stretched out her right hand lightly, brushing the blonde hair around her ears, full of charm. Lynn guessed her identity at first glance. because just a minute ago, this woman was still in the form of a crystal diamond Emma Frost. White Queen by Hellfire Club. Later switched to Magneto's top-level mutant. Trask Labs? Project Sentry. Lynn's heart skipped a beat. His face was still calm. He looked at the White Queen with great interest and said, "Actually, I have talked with Magneto about a lot of things these 2 days. Although he is unwilling to say more, I can also guess that those mutants who switched from Hellfire Club to him back then, the end of the future is not very good. But now it seems that apart from losing your freedom, you seem to be doing well. Back then, Magneto created the Mutant Brotherhood, and almost all of the first batch of men were dubbed from the Hellfire Club. Red Devil, Torrent, Angel Salvador, Dragonfly Girl, and the White Queen rescued later. But today, these people have disappeared, and the most powerful person around Magneto is Mystique, who was transferred from X-Men. Those who disappeared obviously either lost their lives or became captives. If I remember correctly, Lynn seems to have seen the head of the Red Devil appearing in the Trask laboratory in Days of Future Past. In this way, it seems normal that White Queen was also arrested. You know Magneto? White Queen was startled for a moment, and then a look of sadness appeared on her face. It's just because of his special ability. I'm just lingering on my last breath. Oh, Lynn looked at her curiously. You won't be in diamond form after you're caught? White Queen's diamond form can bring her super strength, endurance, and defense power. She can withstand extremely high and low temperatures, and she can survive for a long time without food and water. In this state, it is obviously extremely difficult to study her super ability. But that doesn't seem to be unsolvable. If you really want to be determined and ruthless, Lynn doesn't think the White Queen's defense is strong enough to be immune to any damage. He pondered for a while before he understood. I want to recruit you? When the White Queen heard this, her pupils shrank slightly uncontrollably. How do you know? She looked at Lynn with surprise in her eyes. Who the hell are you? Why are you here? It does appear to be so. Lynn nodded knowingly. Think about it too. Psychic ability is the most special kind of mutant, not to mention rare in number, but also extremely weird and powerful. Especially Emma Frost, who used to be the White Queen of Hellfire Club Mind ability, is definitely the best in the world. And indeed, she is an Omega-level mutant. If she can be recruited, those high-level human officials will wake up laughing from their dreams. I am afraid that it is precisely because of this that the Empress can live to this day in safety. This gentleman, seeing that Lynn didn't intend to answer her question at all, there was a hint of anger in the White Queen's eyes, but quickly faded away. Asking 4 flowers. Instead, there was a hint of temptation. Since you have appeared here, it means that something happened to the base above, right? Wilhelm Stryker was killed by you. Between the cherry lips parted slightly, there seemed to be a red tongue protruding slightly, showing her charm. Why do you think so? Surprise appeared on Lynn's face. And you seem to be unprepared for me? When you saw me just now, you immediately lifted your diamond form. Aren't you afraid that I'm from Wilhelm Stryker? Where is Wilhelm Stryker? How can you let someone like you work for him? The White Queen smiled disdainfully and looked at Lynn's eyes with a flattering feeling. The spiritual shield on your body is stronger than I can imagine. Even if I join forces with Charles Xavier, it may not be able to break through. A spiritual shield of this strength is definitely not from someone else's hand, but can only come from your own. So, the first time I saw you, I knew you were a mutant. And it's a mutant stronger than me and Charles Xavier combined. It has to be said that this woman has an attainment no less than that of Professor X in terms of spiritual ability. Just the direction seems to be different. Back then, Professor X didn't even see through Lynn's spiritual immunity. She saw it. As expected of the White Queen, after being imprisoned for so long, she still has a clear mind. There was an admiration on Lynn's face. It's just a little trick in front of a powerful mutant like you. It's not worth mentioning. The look of flattery on the White Queen's face became more intense. Although I don't know why you appear here, as long as you rescue me, I am willing to work for you, and even do anything. Anything is fine. Her head was almost pressed against the window, so close to Lynn. When speaking, exhale like blue. Warm breath rushed over. Perhaps because of maintaining the diamond shape for many years, Lynn didn't smell a breath. But he still took a step back without any hesitation. With aggressive eyes, he unabashedly looked at the whole body of the White Queen, and he smiled with a strange expression. "You mean I rescue you? You promise it with your body?" How to do? Although this woman is indeed very beautiful, the X gene has greatly delayed her aging, and she looks no different from her 20s. With every gesture, he is mature and charming. But, after all, he is a senior of the same generation as Professor X and Magneto. Save? Or can't help it? Chapter 56. Magneto's Admiration. Things have only just begun. Lynn did not expect that this incident would end with driving. The White Queen also did not expect that her first meal after escaping from birth was only milk. Although this is just a transaction, there is no relationship between each other, even though she was forced to take a long hot bath before drinking milk. But after all, she got huge amounts of happiness from it, and the depression of being imprisoned for many years was greatly relieved. She wouldn't mind drinking it again, given the chance, especially after witnessing how Lynn raises his hand, water waves roll, flames blaze when he flips his hand, life creates inexhaustible hot water in the prison, and later draws a portal. She suddenly felt that this deal could be completely faked. This young man is ridiculously strong. Compared with Sebastian Shaw back then, 813 is not enough. Definitely worth your allegiance. There is no doubt that White Queen has never been a good person who keeps her promises. She was ready to turn her face and run away from the very beginning. But after this idea surfaced, she suddenly became less anxious. Then, she met Magneto and Xingfa, whom she hadn't seen in many years. I also found out that these two old friends, when they looked at Lynn, there was a trace of awe in their eyes. Although it was hidden deep, it really existed. God, am I dreaming? Magneto bows to a young man. What the hell is going on outside? White Queen suddenly had the illusion that she couldn't keep up with the times, and this feeling, after knowing what Lynn did, was magnified to the extreme. She suddenly understood a truth. Times are different. Both Magneto and Professor X have slowly retreated from the mutant stage of history. Instead, it was the young man in front of him. Suddenly, Magneto's voice sounded. "You don't care about the things over there?" For Magneto, the pleasantries after reuniting with an old friend after a long absence are obviously not as important as the rest of the conversation with Lynn. This is a hillside near Alkali Lake, condescending just enough to take the dam into view. On the mountain road in the distance, military vehicles roared and galloped. There are also helicopters approaching rapidly in the sky. Without exception, the targets are all bases. People from the White House and the military are here. Lynn stretched lazily, without the slightest surprise on her face. The matter has developed to the present, and we don't need to intervene anymore. Just leave it to them. To them, Magneto sneered. Politics is the dirtiest thing in the world. Even if the military plans to assassinate the president, believe it or not, as long as the conditions are right, the two sides can immediately shake hands and make peace. So what? Lynn smiled without hesitation. Wilhelm Stryker is finished. More than 100 mutants in the base have been rescued. The X-Men's reputation has been established, and the public opinion against mutants has been reversed a lot. We've gained a lot, haven't we? Furthermore, he turned his head and looked at Magneto seriously. You don't really think that the rift that has already arisen is still possible to heal? Magneto's eyes flickered slightly. He definitely understood what Lynn meant. After this incident, even if the White House and the military finally shake hands and make peace, at least in the eyes of the current president and vice president, the military's credibility will be greatly reduced. The seeds of military and political infighting have been planted and may grow into towering trees at any time. And during this time, neither the White House nor the military would dare to take any unfavorable actions against Mutant unless they wanted to be drowned by the people's saliva. In this way, Mutant has an excellent development time. That's why you kept Wilhelm Stryker's life. Magneto sighed softly. Lynn said coldly, "He is already mortal, but before he goes to hell, he needs to bring out his full value. Killing is never the only way to solve a problem. Kill one Wilhelm Stryker, and soon a second, and a third will pop up. This means nothing to Mutant, but if he is alive, he will be judged and convicted. How many people will pay attention during this process? How many people will sympathize with Mutant? Because of this, Magneto obviously thought of this too. When he was at the base before, he didn't get into trouble. He looked at Lynn, held hesitation for a while, and then said, "It seems that the next step is to take advantage of the current momentum and let Xavier's school open the enrollment. This is nonsense." But when Mystique heard the words, her complexion changed suddenly, and she looked at Magneto in disbelief. Just as Magneto knew her very well, she knew the old man's character very well. Take the initiative to ask about this matter. It means accepting Lynn's invitation in disguise. Be the deputy principal of Xavier's school. Obviously, the strength and means Lynn showed during the whole incident made the leader of the Hawk Mutant, who is extremely proud in his heart, uncontrollably convinced. He may not have given up on his ideas, but he still feels that only by eradicating all human beings can Mutant truly survive. But, at least for now, he is willing to follow Lynn to give it a try. Eric, Mystique's eyes flickered. All the things that happened during this period were not as good as the scene in front of her, which made her even more excited. Although this old man is unscrupulous and ruthless, but he really gave everything for Mutant. For this reason, it is not hesitating to lower the proud head of a young man. Although he has no other choice, it is 0.9. Raven, what's wrong with you? White Queen was stupefied, completely unable to understand why R&D was so exciting. Lynn had expected this, and there was no surprise on his face. It seemed that in his eyes, Magneto's acceptance of the invitation was a matter of no suspense. That's right, it's time for Xavier's school to stand in the sun. He spoke to Magneto naturally, with the posture of a superior. When the matter is over, I will take you to Xavier's school to meet Charles. Magneto didn't feel angry and nodded. But then he was stunned. The matter is over? The matter isn't over yet. Definitely. Lynn glanced at him inexplicably. The matter has just begun. Magneto and Mystique looked at each other. The two faces are dumbfounded. Chapter 57, High-Level Meeting. The Confidence of General Ross. White House Office. A high-level meeting was urgently held in the middle of the night. Attendees are all heavyweights in the military and political circles. The White House is naturally headed by President Matthew Ellis and Vice President Rodriguez, while in the military seat, the highest rank is Army General Scudder. The meeting was full of gunpowder from the beginning. What does your military want to do? You want to rebel by controlling Mutant to assassinate the president. Mr. President, this matter has nothing to do with the military. It is entirely the personal behavior of Wilhelm Stryker. We didn't know he would be so crazy. Assassination of the president is such a big thing. You say you don't know about it? Do you think we are fools? But the fact is true. Wilhelm Stryker has been arrested. As long as he is interrogated strictly, I believe the truth will be found out soon. The truth? In order to deal with Mutant, did you not hesitate to assassinate the president to get the White House to agree to the truth of your plans? Every plan we put forward is for the country, for the people, and for the survival of mankind. But your plans are inhumane, and each one costs a huge budget. I have to emphasize one point: this is a war. If human beings don't want to be overthrown by Mutant, aren't they willing to pay the price? To put it nicely, where did those budgets go? Do you dare to disclose it? You are slandering. Could it be that someone in our military is enriching himself? Isn't it? After spending so much money, are there any reliable results today? When the X-Men project was launched, you swore that you could create an elite mutant army that would obey our orders. What about the X-Men? 10 pots are served. The Weapon X program is not considered a failure. Because of our intervention, all the information has been sealed. As long as there is a chance, it can be restarted at any time. Do you still want to restart? Are you afraid that you are dreaming? There is no experimental subject, so go outside to arrest. Do you know how many pairs of eyes are staring at us now? It doesn't matter. The most indispensable thing in this world is Mutant. As long as we want, we can find enough experimental subjects in no time. 17. Are you crazy? Don't forget that the Mutant Registration Act didn't pass. And even if it did, Mutants aren't legally criminals. The words came from Vice President Rodriguez. As soon as he opened his mouth, the noisy and red-faced people immediately fell silent. Who can attend this meeting? Who is not a scheming old fox? Almost everyone understands the meaning of this sentence. In the final analysis, whether it is the X-weapon plan or other plans against mutant, there is no legal support. In other words, these plans are shady. And the military's biggest mistake this time was to expose the X-weapon plan to the public view. This is a huge amount of blow to the military's prestige and Yu Zhong's reputation. Everyone, I hope you all understand one thing. Mutants are not pigs to be slaughtered. Rodriguez stretched out his fingers, slammed the table in front of him, and scanned the audience with majestic eyes. Look at the wind direction outside. Do you know how many people are scolding you now? And how many people, because of this incident and changed his attitude towards mutant? Accompanied by his words, a secretary quickly manipulated the computer, and pictures appeared on the big screen. It is a screenshot of the X Daily. This damn app cannot be uninstalled, and the installed capacity has reached a terrible number. In addition, it allows people to post videos and share their lives. It is very popular among users and is about to sweep the country. Rodriguez said in a deep voice, "You would never have imagined that within a short period of time, when the Weapon X program was exposed, how many people sent videos angrily denouncing Wilhelm Stryker as a butcher, condemning the X-weapon program, and suspecting that the military has evil intentions. There are even those who demand that the White House severely punish Wilhelm Stryker and investigate the military conspiracy." FK. The faces of all the high-ranking officers in the military became gloomy. "Your Excellency, it's obvious that Mutant is behind the scenes." Admiral Scudder finally spoke. "They want to manipulate public opinion, to change their image, to make people believe that they are not a threat. This is a challenge to us." "I definitely know, but what's wrong with that?" Rodriguez shook his head. "It's still the same sentence. From a legal point of view, mutants are not criminals. They're also legal citizens with various rights. They seek rights for their own groups. What reason do we have to stop them?" No one believed such high-sounding nonsense. But this sentence brings out the point of the whole thing. Mutant groups are starting to seek their own interests. And it's the normal way. This is by no means a good sign. These videos must be blocked immediately to prevent them from spreading, a military general said. And that X Daily, which company made it? Let the FBI immediately start the investigation process. The classic can't solve the problem. Just solve the person who created the problem. It's useless. With our current technology, we can't have any influence on X Daily. Someone from the White House immediately shook their heads. As for that company, it is owned by a person named Katie Pride, who is a reporter of the Mutant channel. Other than that, other information is all false. Obviously, she registered the company just to upload the app, and then disappeared after success. All the bigwigs in the meeting room looked at each other in blank dismay. So, as the world's largest country, we are at a loss for what to do with an inexplicable app. I don't know who said that. In a meeting of this level, there's a sense of black humor. Perhaps we can ask Tony Stark for help? Admiral Scudder frowned and thought of a solution. He can create a steel battle suit, a technological weapon that transcends the times, and he has also developed artificial intelligence. So, there should be a way. His face was rather ugly. For such a small matter, to ask for help from the boss of an arms company, it somewhat hurts Chu Zhong and the military's face. Another person shook his head. "I've tried this method too," and Mr. Starks replies that he can't do it either. "Can't do it? I think he doesn't want to do it." Admiral Scudder snorted coldly. Why did he appear this time? Could it be that there is some kind of connection between him and Mutant that we don't know? Everyone fell silent again. This question cannot be considered carefully. That's the crux of the matter. Rodriguez sighed deeply. Who is Tony Stark? A procurement partner who has cooperated with the military for many years and has a very close relationship with the government. He is also a super elite among us ordinary humans. But after this incident, he actually publicly expressed his sympathy for Mutant and his dissatisfaction with the military in the live broadcast. What does that mean? Don't you understand? Everyone definitely understands. It means that the storm of public opinion in the recent period has had an impact on Iron Man, a human elite who holds a lot of wealth and resources. Can he be influenced? What about other consortium bosses, human elites, and officials at all levels? We'll start to sympathize with Mutant too. Everyone here is very clear that the resources of this society have been in the hands of a few people since ancient times, and the voices of ordinary people can be ignored. But if there are more human elites like Iron Man who change their attitudes, for them, it will be a huge amount of hit. Mutant must be struck, Scudder said with almost no hesitation. I can't let it go like this anymore. I think it is necessary to restart the Mutant Registration Act and implement it as quickly as possible. All eyes focused on the president. Admiral Scudder. President Matthew Ellis was expressionless and finally responded, I hope you can understand that whether Mutant is a threat or not, the governments of various countries have not reached a conclusion, and the White House has not issued a unified order on how to treat and deal with Mutant. Forcing the Mutant Registration Act is actively provoking war. The complexions of Scudder and many generals in the military change at the same time. The president is obviously very upset about the assassination. He is not entirely convinced that this matter has nothing to do with the military. Thinking so, Scudder quickly explained. But before he could speak, he was interrupted by the president waving his hand. I'm very clear that the large-scale emergence of mutants will have a huge impact on the world of ordinary people. So I signed and agreed to the X-Weapon project, just in case, lest there be turmoil caused by mutants, and the authorities are powerless to suppress it. But today, apart from Magneto, the other mutants don't pose much threat to us. Even the X-Men are working on mutant crime. This is a signal of goodwill, without a doubt. It means that in the mutant group, a large part of them are not monsters. They love peace, just like ordinary humans. If because of your active provocation, these mutants are also pushed to the opposite of us, and finally a complete war between humans and mutants is triggered, all of you here. Who can take this responsibility? Matthew Ellis spoke in an orderly manner, and his calm eyes scanned the audience. Seeing the strange expressions on the faces of many military generals, he added slowly, the most important thing is, are you ready? If the war starts, your military can guarantee me a certain victory, and Vice President Rodriguez and I will support you without any hesitation. So, can you guarantee it? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the military choked back the words that came out of their mouths. Rodriguez was expressionless, and neither agreed nor refuted the president's wearing of his name. Admiral Scudder was silent for a moment, then spoke again. Mr. President, there's a saying that Magneto is half right. Politics is the dirtiest thing in the world. The art of compromise is everywhere. Because of this, it is obviously impossible for the matinee meeting to resolve all differences. After the meeting adjourned, all members of the military left the White House one file at a time. Everyone's face was ugly, and Scudder's expression was so gloomy that water could drip out. Wilhelm Stryker, that BCH. Indistinctly, such low-pitched curses came from the crowd. Obviously, this time, although the military resolutely gave up on Wilhelm Stryker at the first time, it'll still be greatly affected, and 003 has fallen into a passive position in many matters. However, it was a little strange that one of the people in the crowd had an extremely calm expression on his face. It doesn't seem to be affected at all. Seeing him, Scudder couldn't help leaning forward and asked, General Ross, what do you think of the president's attitude? What do you think? Is he really going to cut our budget and stop talking to pay for mutant? General Ross didn't care, and there was even a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. He just took this opportunity to suppress the power of the military. Those mutant experiments under the White House are hard to come by. Is there still less Tau? As head of the military's super soldier program, he has far more power than Wilhelm Stryker. No more things, not to mention that in the Worthing laboratory, special weapons for mutant are being developed, and Trask Industries is also undertaking the research and development of Sentinel. There are countless other laboratories. Which one has not a lot of mutant experimental bodies? Many of them do not belong to the military. That's what I said, but the impact of this incident is too great, and our loss is far from being as simple as a Wilhelm Stryker. Scudder definitely understands this truth, but his brows are still frowning. General Ross smiled disdainfully. Don't worry, General. No matter how powerful Mutant is, our preparations over the years are not useless. Oh, hearing this, Scudder was refreshed. Have you achieved results? Gee, General Ross lowered his voice, and a look of excitement flashed in his eyes. Soon, I will be able to catch Bruce Banner, and with him, we will soon be able to mass-produce obedient Ho General. You have seen the power of the Hulk. If we had an army of Hulk, those mutants, what wave can you turn up? Scudder never expected to hear good news in such a day of constantly bad news. A smile immediately appeared on his face. General Ross, you are indeed the mainstay of our military. I will fully support you in the election of the next Secretary of State. General Ross beamed with joy, quite complacent. The two talked about the details of the gamma ray experiment while walking, and before they reached the door, there was a sudden sound of hurried footsteps behind them. Seeing the president's secretary approaching quickly, he said eagerly, "Everyone, I just received the news that Xavier School suddenly publicly announced the recruitment of mutant students. The president invites you to go back to the meeting." General Ross and Scudder looked at each other, and the good mood just now disappeared without a trace. Shit. Chapter 58, The Wind Blows. The waves are stormy. X-Men teamed up with Iron Man to smash the Lake Alkali base, which undoubtedly caused a huge amount of sensation. Definitely, it also caught the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D. What I have to say is that the reaction speed of SHIELD is much faster than that of the White House and the military. But Nick Fury did not send anyone to the scene, but ordered his men to activate all the satellites that SHIELD could call. There is only one purpose: track the X-Men's Blackbird to find the location of the new Xavier School. Boss, recently, although Mutant has made a lot of noise, it has not threatened the security of the world. In the SHIELD air base, Commander Maria Hill stood in front of the big screen, frowning slightly. This doesn't seem to be our scope of authority, so I have no intention of dealing with Mutant. In Nick Fury's one-eyed eyes, there was a flash of light. It's just that a Xavier School out of sight, a group of mutants out of sight, always makes people feel uneasy. Understood. Hill knew the boss's temperament very well and nodded in understanding. We don't have to deal with them, but we must know their situation well in case in the future. She didn't continue to say the following words. Instead, he quietly looked at the fast-moving red light spot on the big screen. SHIELD guards the safety of the Earth, and any potential threats should be monitored. Nick Fury half responded, half whispered. Hill's eyes trembled slightly. Just as she was about to speak, her complexion changed slightly. Where are they flying? The Pacific Ocean is ahead. Before he finished speaking, the red light spot on the big screen suddenly disappeared. Kindness? Nick Fury asked in a deep voice. What's going on? Boss, the target's signal is gone. A group of agents manipulated the computer skillfully and quickly came to a conclusion, looked at each other, and reported like a ghost. The fighters did not show any signs of slowing down, so they must have not landed, but just so suddenly disappeared. It's missing again. Nick Fury now has a headache hearing those three words. Last time, the Academy disappeared from place. This time, the Blackbird is in high-speed flight. Can this go away too? Don't they also have invisibility technology? Hill subconsciously thought of this possibility, and the SHIELD air base can also quickly become invisible. But then, she denied herself. Probably not. It takes at least a little time for such a big fighter to enter the invisible state, and it is impossible to disappear instantly, unless their stealth technology is more advanced than ours. Thinking of the X-Daily that couldn't be deleted, she felt that it was not impossible. Nick Fury shook his head. Intuition tells me that the direction of their flight is not the location of Xavier's school at all. He didn't know what he thought of, and his eyes became more intense. Perhaps Xavier's school has some kind of space technology for long-distance movement. Space technology? Hill was startled and subconsciously thought of the blue-skinned mutant that could teleport. The research on Tesseract is about to speed up. Nick Fury's character made his sense of security plummet after making such a guess. but he still ordered in a deep voice. Phil Coulson went to the southwest to perform a mission. Hill, you personally lead the team to the location of the target hour and see if there are any clues. Clear. On the Blackbird fighter plane. More than 100 mutants who escaped from the Weapon X base saw the fighter plane pass through a cloud layer with their own eyes. The next moment, the scene outside the glass was completely different. It's like stepping into another world. But no one was surprised, because when they boarded the fighter plane, they had already experienced this unbelievable magic. Although the internal space of the fighter is not small, it is definitely not enough to accommodate so many people. But at this moment, with more than 100 people staying inside, it doesn't even feel crowded. This is clearly not normal. Okay, everyone. Storm's voice broke the silence. Welcome to Xavier's school. This is your home from now on. The crowd became slightly agitated. Through the window of the plane, they actually saw a huge amount of islands suspended in the air, with mountains, waters, forests, and even roads and signs. From the looks of it, this island seems to have risen directly from the ground. Is this our mutants' own academy? The crowd looked at each other, inexplicably a little curious about this place where they will live for a long time in the future. The fighter plane landed on the Xavier school playground. Cyclops and Phoenix were in front, and Wolverine supported a middle-aged man who was the most injured, and the rest followed closely behind. As far as I can see, Professor X has already led the other students of the college, waiting for a long time. Welcome. Professor X's face was full of red light, but as soon as he spoke, he was startled suddenly. Immediately afterwards, an unbelievable exclamation came out of his mouth. Sean? Hey, Charles, long time no see. The middle-aged man who was supported by Wolverine greeted him with difficulty. His entire mouth was almost rotten. His throat had an obvious scar caused by intubation, and his body was covered with needle holes. It turned out to be the original X-Men siren. Ability is ultrasound. I thought you had with Professor X's Ching Fu. I couldn't help but get red eyes at this moment. At the beginning, in the first generation of X-Men, he formed, Mystique switched to Magneto, and the rest of Beast, Kraken, and Shockwave had worked together for a long time. Later, Kraken and Shockwave both left for some reason. Unexpectedly, the former was captured by Wilhelm Stryker and became the experimental subject of the X-Weapon Project. Seeing the Kraken's bruises, a deep sense of guilt surged into his heart. Professor X grabbed his hand and then looked up at the top of the fighter. Lynn? Everyone followed his gaze, only to realize that there was a person standing on top of the Blackbird fighter. When will he? Could it be with us? All the mutants looked at each other. Don't be nervous, everyone. It will be fine in a while. Lynn nodded to Professor X, stretched out his right hand, and pressed his palm down lightly. The dazzling green light suddenly flooded the entire playground, and it seemed to be spiritual, dripping towards the sea monster and everyone else. The nerves of the mutants who had just escaped from the cage were instantly tense. If Lynn hadn't said something first, many of them almost subconsciously wanted to use their super abilities to fight and escape. It's just that quickly, everyone relaxes. The green light entering the body did not cause any harm to them, but turned into streams of warm currents, repairing the wounds on their bodies. Even the rot in the mouth of the most severely injured sea monster gradually disappeared, not to mention the wound in the throat. Many people moaned comfortably, and then they couldn't help crying. This feeling of good health. It's been a long time since they experienced it. Remember this feeling, because starting today, the pain you suffered in the past will leave you forever. Lynn watched this scene quietly, inexplicably feeling sad. Among these people, the older ones are like sea monsters. The X genes of many mutants can delay aging, and the younger ones are just like middle school students, but they all suffered in human torture. For a long time to come, the psychological problems of these people will be the most troublesome thing for Professor X. Without interruption, the crying went on for a long time, until the mood improved a little. One face after another raised one by one, looking at Lynn seriously. In the future, can we really live like normal people? Definitely. Lynn replied without any hesitation. Not only you, all mutants will live in the sun, and they can also come here to study learn knowledge, control abilities, and in the future, become a dazzling star that attracts the attention of the world. All the mutants stared in surprise and doubt. Lynn smiled and looked at Shadowcat at the edge of the crowd. "Katie, are you ready?" "I can't wait." Shadowcat laughed out loud, took out his mobile phone, and projected a video of Xavier's school's open enrollment in front of everyone. Then on the Mutant channel of the Daily X release. This day is destined to be recorded in history. Early in the morning, Twisting City, a dirty and messy mixed community. Boom! A loud noise came from the depths of a remote street, accompanied by bursts of gunshots and screams, which seemed extremely abrupt. But the nearby residents didn't have the slightest intention of getting up to watch the excitement. Robbery, gang fights, gangsters eating gangsters. Similar things happen every day, and the people living around here have long been used to it. However, what these people didn't know was that the situation this time was a little different. It wasn't gang members who robbed a homeless man with guns, but were retaliated by the other party after robbing a homeless man. "I'll count to 3 seconds and take all the money out." The one who made the voice was a 15 or 16-year-old girl. Her short green hair was quite eye-catching, and the evil look on her face was also shocking. A group of these damned bastards are not picky when they rob. That old man Harrison is a 6-year-old man, a tramp in his teens, who is as poor as me. Will you not let this go? 7 or 8 gang members were lying on the ground, all trembling. You can't do it without trembling. Just above their heads, steel bars are floating in the air, and it seems that they will fall down at any time, poking their heads. The girl in front of me turned out to be a mutant. Just when the countdown sounded, the gang leader shouted, don't count, the money is under the TV cabinet. You get it yourself? You guys are acquainted." The green-haired girl nodded in satisfaction and walked towards the TV cabinet. Passing by the messy table, there are beer, cigarette butts, flour everywhere. There are even a few condoms. She frowned fiercely. The fierceness on her face flashed away. Resisting the idea of killing all these scumbags, she quickly found the money from under the TV cabinet, turned around, and was about to leave. But at the moment, the morning news came from the TV that had not been turned off all night. The latest news is that X-Men publicly released information on the Mutant channel, claiming that in order to prevent more mutants from being killed by butchers like Wilhelm Stryker, they will establish their own academy for mutants and open enrollment from today. The address of the college is located in the Xavier Manor on the outskirts of Twisting City. Any mutant who intends to enroll, regardless of age, can go directly to report. However, after investigation by our reporter, the Xavier Manor has disappeared. In its place was a huge amount of sinkhole. This matter caused a sensation again. It was reported that the White House held a meeting overnight and seemed to be discussing countermeasures. The green-haired girl turned her head in disbelief. The academy where the X-Men are open enrollment, publicly provoking the White House. Great crab special. After an exclamation, she involuntarily fell into silence. Since awakening super ability, she has been hiding for many years. She has never encountered such a thing, and she was a little dazed for a while. An unprecedented excitement seemed to emerge from the depths of the soul. Mutants' own academy? Perhaps. Lorna Dane should check it out. California, outside a prison. Amidst the ear-piercing roar of cars, several police cars ran wildly, chasing the target ahead. However, every time you want to catch up, a halo will appear in front of the target. The target jumps in, and the next moment, it will appear hundreds of meters ahead. FK, that chick is playing us. Rough and angry curses came from the police car, reflecting a few gloomy, Mama Lee's watery faces. Chase all the way and soon enter the town. Everyone's complexion was getting worse and worse, but suddenly they were stunned for a moment and saw the target in their sight stop when they passed by a square. On the big screen in the square, the news is being broadcast. After running for so long, her ability must not be used. The prison guards were overjoyed, got out of the car quickly, and approached with guns. "Clarice Ferguson, you escaped from prison and attacked the police. We're going to arrest you now." Before he finished speaking, a familiar circle of light appeared. A target named Clarice slipped in and disappeared again, but this time it moved directly out of their sight. Vaguely, there seemed to be a prison guard with sharp ears who heard a murmur. After entering Xavier's school, I will never be arrested because of my super ability. Xavier's school? The prison guard shook his head and looked up at the big screen. After a few seconds, he couldn't help but gasp. Mutant is going crazy. Similar things happened in many places at the same time. In a casino in Las Vegas, a middle-aged man with unfathomable poker skills froze for a moment after seeing the news, and then the corner of his mouth suddenly revealed an arc of interest. I heard that Logan is at Xavier's school. Could it be that he made it? Twist City, home of Sheriff George Stacy. Gwen Stacy, who was about to leave for school, passed the living room and glanced at the news her dad was watching. The eyes freeze instantly. Mutant Academy? It seems that only those with the X gene in their bodies are considered mutants. People like me who have acquired super abilities after being bitten by a spider. Is it considered a mutant alter? Should I check out too? A strong wind suddenly rises. The waves are monstrous. Chapter 59, Tony, me? Professor? You sure? The news of the new Xavier School's open enrollment spread throughout the world as if it had wings. Interested people immediately sniffed out the unusual breath. A turbulent era has begun. However, as the person who single-handedly kicked off the curtain of the Great Era, Lynn clearly understands that even though the trend of public opinion on mutant has been reversed, there are still many people who cannot accept the sudden appearance of Mutant Academy. Even those who are no longer against mutant, not repelling, doesn't mean you are willing to see mutants standing in the sun openly. These are two very different things. Human nature is like this, and it has been like this since ancient times. Thus, such a strange situation appeared. After the admissions video was released, it quickly caused an uproar, but almost all of it was confined to the internet. In reality, some people even gathered outside the White House, demanding that the authorities severely punish Wilhelm Stryker, but there was no word raised the basic rights of mutant as a human being. Lynn knows that it will take time to slowly ferment and slowly change. There is no rush. At the same time, he is also very clear that those mutants, or the parents of mutants, may not necessarily believe such an admissions. Although it was released by X-Men. After all, the news clearly captured the situation of Xavier Manor, where there is no school 167, only a bottomless pit. It's not Hogwarts. At least there is an owl to deliver a letter. In contrast, the new Xavier school has only one, which looks very shabby. So, one more opportunity is needed. An opportunity that has been brewing for a long time. Before the opportunity came, Lynn started another action that had been planned long ago, recruiting famous teachers for the new Xavier school and improving the faculty of the school. And the first one he visited was Iron Man. How was the development progress of Oasis? When is it expected to be released? Seeing Lynn's first words, Tony fulfilled his responsibility as a shareholder perfectly. During this period of time, apart from researching steel battlesuits in the laboratory, he spent his fantasy in Oasis and tried various new tactics. In the middle, he also took time to destroy the X-Weapon base, which was equivalent to an actual combat exercise. Quite a lot of fun. Oasis can be launched at any time. The only difference is the number of copies. Lynn smiled and said, "It's just that the number of logged-in devices is not enough, and the production capacity is limited, and only a few million sets have been produced so far." Is a few million sets not enough? Tony was taken aback and subconsciously wanted to say, that's not how business works. But after thinking about it, with the quality and experience of Oasis that transcends the times, if it can only satisfy a few million users when it is launched, it will undoubtedly be a blasphemy. He shook his head, not to dwell on the problem. Recently, you have made too much noise. Neither the White House nor the military can sit back and watch Xavier's school open enrollment. Next, you don't plan to go to war, do you? He was obviously worried about this incident. Although he did good deeds and saved more than 100 innocent and suffering mutants, there was always a feeling of being used by Lynn. So he said decisively, "This kind of thing, you must not drag me into the water. Don't make trouble. If you really want to go to war, what can you do with the Mark 10 you are wearing now? Lynn rolled her eyes. Tony was furious. You look down on my steel battle suit. It's not contempt. Lynn told the truth. It's because your research and development of the battle suit is still at the elementary level stage, so you can only bully some small characters. Once you meet a really powerful character, you don't even have a chance to fight back. What? Tony felt that his self-esteem had been seriously challenged, so he folded his hands and smiled proudly. Then tell me, who are the powerful people I meet? Will I not be able to fight back? Lynn watched him silently. Has the anti-psychic armor been made yet? Any ideas for anti-magnetic armor? Is anti-Superman armor in the plans? Beth, anti-magic armor. Are you going to get it? A series of quick rhetorical questions. Each sentence hits the heart directly. Tony's face suddenly collapsed. Holy Siete heard you say that. I don't seem to be weak like normal. He sighed in frustration. Not to mention anti-psychic, anti-Superman armor, even anti-magic armor. Since the last battle with Lynn on the rooftop, he's been researching, and now he has no clue. So don't worry. Lynn patted him on the shoulder, looking like an elder, and said earnestly, you still have a long way to go. Tony was speechless. I feel like you're taking advantage of me. How come? Lynn smiled again and waved her hand. Don't talk about those useless things. I'm here this time to invite you to be the visiting professor of the new Xavier School and to study the battle suit in your spare time to teach the students. Professor? Me? Tony was taken aback for a moment, completely unable to keep up with Lynn's wild ideas. Definitely you. Lynn looked at him very seriously. You are a genius, one of the smartest people on Earth. Mechanical engineering, artificial intelligence, material engineering, electronic engineering, nuclear fusion. You're proficient in too many majors. This is the best professor in the world for the students of the academy. Tony still didn't realize it. Are you sure those students can understand these things? From shallow to deep, from easy to difficult, teach little by little. Lynn waved her hand indifferently. Those low-grade students are definitely impossible to understand, but the high-grade students will gain something to some extent. The IQ of many mutants is much higher than that of ordinary humans. Don't forget, Katie and Ganhuan are also students who just graduated from the academy. Mentioning Shadowcat and Jubilation Lee, Tony's eyes changed slightly. He had to admit that those were two talents. The latter's attainments in mechanical engineering and artificial intelligence impressed him deeply, while the former was not inferior in computers and was also proficient in multiple languages and could browse documents and materials in various languages at will. How old are they? Is Mutant's IQ really that high? It's fine if you haven't noticed it before, but now that you think about it, Tony can't help but say in shock. The Blackbird fighter that X-Men drives is also quite high-tech. Is it made by Mutant? To some extent, mutants can actually be divided into combat mutants and scientific research mutants. Lynn shook her head. The stronger the super ability, the IQ is generally at a normal level, and many people with weak super ability can reach heights that ordinary people can't match in terms of brain development. This is a very objective self-evaluation. Exceptions like Professor X, Phoenix. Chapter 60, The Iron Man Who is Limped by Fools. Wisdom is sometimes inversely proportional to strength. The stronger the person, the less he likes to use his brain. For example, Wolverine, with its super self-healing factor, super fighting level, although it is poorly performed in the movie, and its extremely sharp adamantium claws, undoubtedly form a super strength. But he is irritable, impulsive, and often used to exchange injuries for injuries. And apart from learning some languages because of wandering around the world, he never took the initiative to learn other knowledge. On the contrary, Tony was originally an ordinary person, without great strength, and his combat power was almost entirely dependent on armor. This led to his almost obsessive research on steel battlesuits. The speed of updating iterations is faster each time. His strength comes from knowledge. Lynn popularized the classification of mutants for Tony, and then said, many Delta-level mutants have a much higher level of brain development than ordinary people. If someone like you can teach them, they will be able to use knowledge to do the same as you. Arm yourself and become stronger. With a mortal body, you can stand shoulder to shoulder with a god. Tony, Such a heavy responsibility is yours. What he said was sincere, and he did not hide his deeper plot. Moreover, those professors who originally have a certain reserve of knowledge can also go to your class. And if they gain something, it can also greatly enhance the technology of Xavier's school strength. Tony was taken aback when he heard that. With a mortal body, can you stand shoulder to shoulder with a god? He carefully chewed the deep meaning of this sentence, and in a trance, he felt a sense of responsibility. But then, he laughed. This is your real purpose, right? Why don't you just ask me to help you develop weapons? He was a little surprised by Lynn's frankness, and felt that Lynn's move was really a bit whimsical. Obviously, he wants to let himself, the helm of the Stark industry, go to the new Xavier school to be a part-time worker, but it seems that he is making a lot of money. With thoughts surging in his mind, Tony gradually stopped joking. A serious look appeared on his always cynical face. What the hell are you trying to do? This is the second time he asked this question, and this time he was obviously 100 times more serious than before. If I said before, I thought you just wanted to reverse Mutant's image and change Mutant's situation, but now, you actually want to arm the Mutant with knowledge? Mutant already has a super ability. Coupled with the knowledge armed, the power is bound to advance by leaps and bounds. Lynn, I feel more and more that you are ambitious. And your ambition is far more than just letting mutants stand in the sun openly. Could it be that you, like that Magneto, want to rule the world? After saying this, the atmosphere seemed to become a little dignified. Lynn didn't realize it. Mutants rule the world, why not? He actually admitted it lightly. Tony's complexion suddenly changed, and he almost summoned the steel battle suit. But he resisted the urge because in his sight, Lynn suddenly changed the subject and asked a completely irrelevant question. Tony, how much do you know about this world? What? Tony was taken aback again. Lynn continued to ask. SHIELD should have contacted you, right? You know SHIELD? Tony hesitated for a moment, nodded and said, they have indeed contacted me and want to invite me to join and build a special team composed of superheroes to deal with possible crises that threaten the Earth and protect the safety of the world. Lynn nodded without asking if he had agreed to join. Instead, he smiled and said, so, what kind of crisis will threaten the entire Earth? What do you want to say? Tony frowned, with a vague premonition that every time Lynn was allowed to control the rhythm of the conversation, he seemed to suffer in the end. Lynn still didn't answer directly. Instead, he said word by word, Tony, do you believe in the existence of God? What? Tony couldn't keep up with Lynn's rhythm again. But this time, his answer showed no hesitation. Technology is God. It is said that the end of science is theology, but so far, he obviously has not encountered a scientific problem that cannot be solved. The implication is that there has never been a God in this world. Lynn said non-committally. How about the Metropolitan Superman? How about the General Zod, who was defeated by him? Alien. Tony's brow furrowed even tighter. When Kryptonians come to the Earth, they can absorb the energy of the sun and become a powerful existence that makes human beings desperate. As long as they are willing, they can even easily wipe out all human beings on the Earth. For people on Earth, what is the difference between this and a god? Lynn didn't mention the Skrulls invading the Earth, nor the Asgards who had descended on the Earth, but just used Superman as an example. Then the topic changed. The universe is vast and infinite. If there is one such existence, there may be a second or third one. If they come to the Earth one after another and have malicious intentions towards the Earth, what should the people on Earth do? Tony is truly one of the smartest people on Earth. He immediately understood what Lynn meant. You mean the Earth is about to face the threat of alien civilization? That's why SHIELD is in a hurry to form Avengers. It's not about to come, but it's always in the face. Lynn said firmly. In the past, most people didn't realize it, but it won't be long before all human beings on the entire Earth will face death and destruction. At this time, the people's daily life is not about war, death, reconstruction, and falling into war again. But there are already signs of this. Tony, the world is not the same as before. Lynn sighed softly, sincerely, without any falsehood, because he, and even all mutants, live in this world. When I think of the distant starry sky, purple sweet potato, Dormammu, Steppenwolf, Darkseid, and many other top bosses are all staring at the earth. Sometimes I can't sleep well. Could the world be any more chaotic? Tony said nothing. But looking at the expression on his face, it was clear that Lynn was talking alarmistly. The level you are in is too low now, and it is normal not to see the future. Lynn patted him on the shoulder. You just need to know that the crisis that threatens the Earth has always existed, and SHIELD obviously knows a lot of secrets. So they urgently want to form Avengers. As for those people in the White House and the military, they may not understand clearly enough, but there must be some smart people who have vaguely sensed the signs of great changes in the world through various cobweb signs. So they're also eager to improve their own strength. The study of mutant super ability is to some extent one of the attempts. It's just that whether it's SHIELD or the high-level human beings, they deliberately avoided a question. At this point, Lynn deliberately paused. When Tony didn't pay attention, he couldn't help being led to the rhythm. What's the problem? Why did mutants start to appear on a large scale at such a time? The divine light in Lynn's eyes was bright, and her tone suddenly raised. Tony's heart trembled violently, as if a thunderbolt exploded in his ears. Tony, you are one of the most intelligent geniuses on Earth. You must know that from primitive times to modern civilization, human beings have been evolving all the time. In order to adapt to the changes in the natural environment, there are constantly various physiological and psychological changes. Lynn's speech slowed down, but her enunciation became more and more clear. This is the historical torrent of the development of human civilization, just like a monstrous wave. It has never changed since ancient times. Then, in the face of today's turbulent waves of great changes, human genes are naturally mutated, and various super abilities are born to cope with the coming crisis of survival. Isn't it a very normal thing? God is sorry. If Darwin knew that his theory of evolution had been interpreted in this way, he wondered if he would jump out of the coffin. And if Nick Fury of SHIELD was present, seeing Lynn linking the invasion of alien civilizations with the large-scale emergence of mutants, he didn't know what kind of expression he would have. But I have to admit that these words make sense. Tony was speechless for a moment. Human beings have been adapting to the environment. If the cosmic environment is really undergoing unprecedented changes, then in order to survive, human beings have genetic mutations and the birth of super abilities. It seems that there is nothing wrong with it. So, Tony swallowed hard and spoke slowly after a long time. The emergence of mutant is actually the self-help of human genes? Is it the inevitable result of the development of human civilization? That's right. Lynn said every word. This is what happened naturally. First a small number of people, and then more and more people. As time goes by, all human beings will step into the process of genetic evolution. Since that's the case, mutant, who evolved one step earlier, want to stand at the top of this world and lead the overall evolution of human civilization. Isn't a natural thing? So, what's wrong with mutant ruling the world? At the moment, if Professor X, who is currently studying the history of the Dragon Kingdom, is present, he will be stunned by Lynn's words, and then lose all his elegance and swear. Shit, this guy, Lynn, started looking for theoretical support for the emergence of mutant. And there is no doubt that the key to this theory of genetic evolution lies in whether human civilization is real. Will face unprecedented threats. Tony thought of that all at once, and Lynn saw his face and understood his thoughts. You don't believe it? Tony subconsciously shook his head. Lynn was not angry, and a familiar smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. It's very simple. I just let you see it with your own eyes. Before he finished speaking, he thrust out his right hand and hit Tony between the eyebrows. This is not Kamartaj's soul magic, but prophecy magic. Lynn didn't lie when she convinced Magneto and Mystique earlier. He does know a thing or two about prophecy magic. Boom! It was as if the brilliant colors of the Big Bang flashed fiercely in front of Tony's eyes in an instant. At this moment, he felt as if his soul had lifted off into the sky and floated into a strange and unknown place. Bubbles suddenly appeared. In the bubble, there are pictures one by one. Each picture is different as if it is a different branch of the timeline. However, in almost half of the screens, there's a twisting city that is being destroyed. In the city, the figures of superheroes are fighting with all their strength. Among them is even his own figure, manipulating a steel battlesuit that is clearly ahead of Mark X, fighting bloody battles. And their opponents are ugly and powerful foreigners. Star Creature. Tony saw, on the roof of the Stark building, a glaring ray of light pierce through the sky, opening a space channel that was getting bigger and bigger. In the tunnel, countless alien creatures and monsters rushed into the earth. Then, madly slaughter. At this moment, he believed Lynn's words for no reason, because out of the corner of his eye, he also saw a small part of the picture, the blue planet on which human beings live. Bang, and it exploded. Countless familiar streets, countless familiar people disappeared in an instant. No! With a roar, Tony broke away from the prophetic situation. His expression changed violently. His whole body was in an unprecedented shock. His thinking was like a speck of dust on the edge of the universe, suddenly lifted to the level of the vast universe spent. Looking around, there are mouths full of blood. He is angry, frightened, desperate, helpless. Invasion of alien civilization. The self-evolution of human civilization. Mutant is one step ahead. In my mind, what Lynn said just now echoed crazily. And at the same time, the feeling of seeing the future through time and space can't be lingered no matter what. After a long while, Tony took a deep breath. He stared at Lynn. His eyes were red. Professor Mutant, I'm done. As long as human beings are not destroyed, as long as human civilization does not go to extinction, I'm Iron Man, willing to make every effort, willing to resist the gate of the gods with the body of a mortal. Chapter 61, When in Danger, Please Shout Grindelwald. Hell's Kitchen. This is an indelible black spot in the bustling city of Twist, which has always been known for its messy and backward living quality, serious ethnic conflicts, and high crime rate. According to incomplete statistics, there are no fewer than 3 gangsters on each street here. There are so many gangsters and endless crimes that the residents of more than 20 blocks nearby are like rats living in the sewer, and they will never see hope. But the light that grows in the darkness is an eternal truth. Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is the only light in Hell's Kitchen. A blind man has to run a law firm to make ends meet during the day, and at night wear a hood, go out to fight crimes, and fight wits and courage with vicious gangsters. One can imagine how much effort is required. It has long been commonplace to be covered in bruises, and there is no doubt that in such a place, opening a law firm that upholds justice obviously cannot earn 030 money. In fact, the law firm has been on the verge of bankruptcy several times. But today, things seem to have ushered in a turning point. A big client came to visit. Welcome, Mr. Lynn. Matt Murdock sat in a slightly messy office, wearing a pair of sunglasses, and said to the visiting young man, I don't know if you have anything to entrust to our law firm. His attitude is very friendly. With this income coming into the account, the institute can be maintained for a period of time. I'm not here to sue. Lynn didn't talk nonsense and said straight to the point, Mr. Murdock, I know you are Daredevil. Ever since you lost your eyes, you have acquired extraordinary senses of touch, hearing, smell, and taste, as well as superb fighting abilities. So, I can offer you a job. Daredevil's face changed slightly. His first reaction was to clench the guide stick in his hand, and his whole body tensed up accordingly. But his strong 4 senses made him judge that Lynn was not malicious. And he frowned slightly and said, Work? I already have a job, sir. Definitely. Lynn was not surprised by his vigilance and said, It is because you are an excellent lawyer that I am willing to offer you this job. Or you can take it as a part-time job, part-time. Daredevil was a little surprised. That's right, a part-time job with a good income can not only keep your law firm afloat, but also make you more respectable. Lynn glanced at the small office. Maybe you and your partner can change to a bigger office instead of being crowded in such a small place. Seeing Daredevil's frown getting tighter, he smiled and added, Definitely. This part-time job is definitely not for you to do bad things, but only for you. To go to a school for a few classes a week, it's just a class. School? In class. Daredevil became more and more confused. What kind of school needs a blind man as a teacher? A school that gathers a lot. Students who have super abilities like you. As soon as the words came out, Daredevil reacted immediately. Xavier's school. Recently, the news of the new Xavier School's open enrollment has been raging. Even if he doesn't pay attention to it, he still knows it from his partner Fergie Nelson and his assistant Karen Page. But he never thought that this matter would have something to do with him. Are you a mutant? Maybe it's because of the super ability relationship. Although he is not a mutant, he is quite kind to mutants. As he spoke, his expression gradually relaxed. The students in Xavier's school are all mutants, and their teachers, shouldn't they be the elite among mutants? Why did they come to me? That's all in the past. Now Xavier's school needs talents who can teach all kinds of knowledge. Lynn explained, you must have heard that Xavier's school has open enrollment. So after graduation, students will naturally return to normal social life. And, as we all know, in such a country, the law is that the rich game to play. So if students want to gain a foothold, it is necessary to be proficient in law. That's why he came to Daredevil. Among the future graduates of Xavier's school, at least a group of lawyers should be trained. You're blunt. Mr. Lynn, as a lawyer, Daredevil felt unnatural when he heard this. But he quickly adjusted, shook his head, and declined politely. Although I don't reject mutant, teaching is really not my strong point, and I still have work to do. I'm afraid I don't have time. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Lynn. Aren't you looking at the pay first? Lynn snapped her fingers, and a check appeared out of thin air and landed on the desk in front of Daredevil. This is your weekly salary, and your courses will not be too heavy, so you won't waste much time. This is an ordinary check, not for the blind. But Daredevil has a great sense of touch. When I touched it with my hand, my heart skipped a beat. Mr. Lynn is very generous. It's unbelievable to him. It's just a part-time job, and his salary is much higher than that of the world's top university professors. In order to recruit professors, Xavier's school obviously showed enough sincerity. From this point of view, if there are not many courses, it seems that it is not unacceptable to accept such a part-time job. Not only can it greatly relieve the financial pressure of the law firm, you can also become colleagues with the recently popular X-Men. In the future, in case something unexpected happens, wouldn't it be possible to ask the X-Men for help? Mr. Lynn, I think I can. Daredevil groaned for a while and planned to accept the invitation, but before he finished speaking, his brows frowned again. Mr. Lynn? There was no response from the office. And in the radar sense, the young man who was sitting opposite just now has disappeared. When will he? Daredevil was startled when he heard Karen Page, the receptionist and assistant, push the door in. Matt, who are you talking to? Kindness. Daredevil was startled. Mr. Lynn, didn't you bring it in just now? We were talking in the office. Didn't you hear me? Are you kidding? When did I take over the client? Karen Peggy looked blank. And you're the only one in the office all the time? You're not dreaming, are you? Myself. Daredevil was silent for a long time and sighed softly after a long time. Mutant's ability is really amazing. Karen Page was puzzled. Daredevil didn't say much, handed him the check in his hand, and said, I just received a weekly salary that was pretty good. I think I won't owe you any more salary in the future. Karen took a look at 1.0 and immediately exclaimed, Great gift crab special. Is this a weekly salary? Yes. Daredevil felt the joy of his assistant and couldn't help being happy too. Immediately afterwards, with his extraordinary sense of touch, he felt that there seemed to be something extra in his pocket. He reached out and touched it. Lynn's voice sounded quietly in his heart. This is the key to the academy. Hold the key for more than 3 seconds, say Harry Potter silently, and display the class schedule. Silently say Dumbledore to send the vehicle where the academy is located. Definitely, in order to ensure the personal safety of the college professors. If one day you're in danger, please shout Grindelwald. In an instant, Daredevil was even more shocked, but at the same time couldn't help being a little puzzled. Datu, Dumbledore, seems like they're all names. Could it be some powerful mutant? Chapter 62, Cut Who? Jane Foster and Daisy Lewis. In a coffee shop, Lynn sipped coffee leisurely. On the opposite side are 3 people. Mr. Lynn, you mean you're willing to fund my research? Even help me build an astrophysics laboratory. On Jane Foster's fair face, there was a blush of excitement. Her beautiful eyes were rippling between Gupan, and her good figure made the guests at the next table peek over frequently. Beside her, assistant Daisy Lewis also looked at Lynn curiously. Lynn noticed that the guest next door was peeking at Daisy rather than Jane Foster. No way, in this age of looking at faces, there's another thing that attracts more attention. Big is king. In the open coat, the simple t-shirt can't cover up the amazing curves at all, plus the pair of black rimmed glasses on her face and her big black waves. It's easy to think of some restricted rated things. Perhaps she was used to such gazes, but Daisy didn't realize it. With a lollipop in her mouth, she said suspiciously, "You look like you haven't graduated from college yet. Do you know how much money is needed for an astrophysics laboratory? Are you sure you're not playing us?" Mr. Lynn, Daisy is right. Astrophysics is a very special science. It requires years of investment, and Eric Savig also said seriously. As Jane Foster's mentor, he is a famous astrophysicist, but as he himself said, this major is a bit special 17. Unless he's recruited by the state, it is difficult to have his own laboratory. After all, mankind has just entered the era of nuclear physics, and the truth of astrophysics is a bit far away, and it is difficult to convert the results of research into money. Those consortiums that like to invest in laboratories will naturally not pay attention to this field. Because of this, a wild astrophysicist like him does not live a good life, and research funding has always been tight. So after receiving a call from Lynn, although he had some hesitation, he still gave up the celestial vision that he had been tracking recently and came here. Only now, after seeing Lynn's age, he suddenly felt that things were not plausible. Such a young man would be interested in astrophysics? Could it be that he wants to pick up Jane or Daisy? Spending a lot of money to pick up girls? 3. You don't need to doubt my sincerity. Lynn smiled. After the Stark Group announced the acquisition of Hammer Industries, the stock of Hammer Industries, which had already fallen to the bottom, has risen crazily recently. The $400 million invested by the Second World has now doubled several times. The funds he can use now are conservatively estimated to be more than $1 billion. It's just investing in an astrophysics laboratory, and you don't need to take it all at once. As long as you accept my offer to become visiting professors at the new Xavier School, I will fully fund your research and give you a piece of land to actually build a laboratory, just like when facing Daredevil. Lynn said straight to the point. How about $100 million for the first phase of funding? $1 billion for several wild astrophysicists. This is undoubtedly an exciting number. Jane Foster and Daisy were instantly excited, but Eric Savig narrowed his eyes sharply. You just said the new Xavier School? Mutant Academy? You want us to be professors in the Mutant Academy? Hearing this, Jane Foster and Daisy reacted. The two looked at each other, and the excitement on their faces froze instantly. Any questions? Lynn's reaction to them is not surprising at all. Xavier School is a school with formal qualifications and is fully qualified to recruit students. In order to improve the quality of teaching, we hire foreign professors with high salaries. Isn't it okay? The three of them looked at each other, their expressions changing and complicated. This sounds definitely no problem. But that's Mutant Academy. Unlike Daredevil, these three people don't have any super abilities, but are just completely ordinary people. Facing such an invitation, they show a completely different attitude from Daredevil. Eric Savage barely thought about it, just shook his head and refused. I'm really sorry. I don't think we can accept this job and investment. Jane Foster was a little disappointed and didn't mean to refute her mentor. Seeing this, Daisy hesitated for a while but didn't speak. It's okay. You can think about it again. Lynn had expected this, and she didn't force it, and still handed out 3 letters of appointment. This invitation is not aimed at the 3 of you. No matter which one of you thinks it through, you can contact me at any time. After all, one of your research directions is the theory of wormholes, and in the new Xavier School, there are many mutants with space abilities. If the 2 sides can reach a cooperation, maybe there will be research results that span the ages. After saying this, he got up and was about to leave. The expressions of the 3 people on the opposite side all changed. Space, wormhole, For scientific research talents like them, excellent observation and research materials are even more important than research funding. Jane Foster almost blurted out, "Are you talking about the blue-skinned mutant that assassinated the president?" Don't bother him. He's been a little stimulated recently, and he is not in a good mood. Lynn's mouth curled into a familiar arc. In front of the three of them, he snapped his fingers casually. With a sound of buzz, a ripple appeared in the corridor on the left, as if a zipper had been unzipped in the void, and a space portal with a faint golden glow appeared quietly. The space door moved slowly, enveloping the four of them together with the table. The next moment, the three of Jane Foster were stunned to find that they and the others had appeared in a vast and boundless primeval forest. The extremely scorching air, the sudden increase in temperature, the giant trees and vines covering the sky, and the faint roar of lions and tigers coming from my ears, all in all, undoubtedly revealed an incredible fact. This is by no means pretty country. The man in front of him plucked the string of space. Tens of thousands of miles away, arrive in an instant. Africa. Daisy was the first to exclaim, and then looked at Jane Foster and Eric Savig, and saw that the two of them, like herself, had fallen into deep shock, in extreme stupefaction. The three of them didn't even notice that Lynn had left. The invitation to Xavier School is valid for a long time. The three of you have considered it, and you can join the job anytime, but right now I have some things to do here, so I won't be with you. If you want to go back, just go through the door. The voice came into the ears, and Lynn's figure had disappeared. After a long time, the three of Jane Foster looked at each other in dismay, and passed through the space door that hadn't disappeared one after another. Almost without a second, the familiar coffee aroma of $47 came again. The three of them gasped in unison. It's not a dream. Daisy was so excited that she grabbed her good sister's arm. Let's accept this job. The salary is not low, and we can also get funds to establish experiments. Isn't it like a dream? Jane Foster looked at her teacher. Mutant. Eric Savage's expression was complicated, and he was a little confused for a while, unable to make up his mind. Daisy hurriedly persuaded. What's so scary about Mutant? We're going to be professors, so who else would dare to hurt us? Jane Foster looked at her in surprise. Daisy, why do I feel that your assistant is more excited than me? Definitely. Daisy said unabashedly. That Lynn is handsome, isn't he? He is a powerful mutant who cuts through the space casually. Damn it, I actually felt a kind of unfathomable charm in him. As she spoke, she took a deep breath, helped up her black-rimmed glasses that almost fell off, and looked at Jane Foster. He's my favorite, Jane. You can't take it from me. Jane Foster looked confused. Isn't it? You're dominated by hormones at this time? Have you forgotten that we have to track celestial visions? Go to the FG Celestial Vision. We no longer need to use it to confirm the authenticity of the wormhole theory. The man just now has proved everything with facts. Daisy swears, and then looks at her friend and teacher indifferently. Is there anything more worthy of research than him? Jane Foster froze for a moment. Then the heart trembled. Chapter 63, Have you ever seen a meteorite falling from the sky? Lynn didn't know that Daisy had a strong curiosity about him. At the moment, he was strolling in the primeval forest. His expression seemed indifferent. His powerful spiritual power had spread, and he could feel it within a radius of 100 miles. Soon, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The apparition magic was cast. The next moment, he had already appeared 10 kilometers ahead. It still looks like a dense primeval forest here, no different from the place he just passed by, but in his powerful perception, he can clearly see an invisible light curtain in front of him. Wakanda. There was a flash of light in his eyes, and without stopping, he easily passed through the energy shield that concealed, defended, and shielded perception. The scene in front of him changed instantly. A city with a strong sense of technology stands in the space. The tall buildings and wide streets are in stark contrast to the farmlands and shepherds everywhere on the surrounding plains. This is a very strange place. Obviously relying on vibranium, it has developed a powerful technology that is many years ahead of the Earth. But at the level of primitive tribes, politics, economy, and even all aspects are full of backwardness and barbarism. An inexplicable sense of separation rushed over. This is obviously related to Wakanda's long-term concealment, and the technology system that completely relies on vibranium also has huge amounts of incompleteness. Best of all, this technology is in the hands of Wakanda royalty. To put it bluntly, it is a means to maintain rule. For a country that does not communicate with the outside world, it is obviously enough for ordinary people to enjoy the benefits of vibranium technology in some aspects. As for the system, the more primitive and ignorant it is, the more unbreakable the foundation of the royal family will be. None of this has anything to do with Lynn. He came here for only one purpose. The mental power continued to release, and soon he locked onto the target, Apparatus again, and appeared on the highest mine in Wakanda. The vibranium mine. Lynn is somewhat curious about one of the world's most special metals. But he didn't go straight down, but stood quietly where he was. Not surprisingly, the breakthrough of the energy shield was quickly discovered, and at the same time, there was an extra person above the mine out of thin air, which also made Wakan fans feel like they were facing a formidable enemy. The first to rush up were the warriors of the Mountain Mine tribe, who were in charge of reclaiming the vibranium mine. A royal guard composed of a group of bald black women, each holding a spear, followed closely behind. Further away, a flight machine has already taken off. The people of the Mountain Mine tribe are extremely physically fit because they have been mining all the year round. Dozens of people rushed to Lynn, almost without hesitation. But Lynn just glanced at them, and these people seemed to be struck by lightning, and they all froze in place, as if they were demented. Foring magic mind shock. When the royal guard arrived, they all changed their expressions when they saw this scene. What's going on? Why didn't you move? It's super ability. They're under control. Wakanda is obviously not ignorant of the outside world. Everyone in the female guards reacted almost instantly and stopped immediately. The spears in their hands shone brightly and aimed at Lynn. Lynn didn't make any movement. The ground around him trembled loudly, and all the members of the guard fell down on the spot as the earth dragon rolled. Someone who was agile got up quickly and was about to fight back when tentacles made of mud stretched out from the ground, locking their bodies tightly. There was a look of horror in everyone's eyes. Can be selected into the royal guard. Each of them has strong physical fitness and is also equipped with powerful technological equipment such as spears and cloaks. No matter how powerful the enemy is, they are confident that they can win 5 battles. Who would have thought that facing Lynn, there would be no room for development? This is magic. Powerful power is only second. Magic and weirdness are the biggest features. Notify your king that Lynn, king of mutants, is visiting. Lynn is a gentleman. He never thought of killing through Wakanda and snatching vibranium by force. So he looked at the captain of the guard team and spoke lightly. This time, he came as the king of mutants. The aura is fully open, and the sharpness is revealed. King of mutant. All the members of the royal guard trembled. All were intimidated by Lynn's aura. Before they could report on the high-speed approaching flight, Wakanda executives had already heard Lynn's words through their communication equipment. A flight controller lowered its altitude, the hatch opened, and figures jumped out of it. The other flight guns are suspended in the air, and the muzzles stick out, aiming at Lynn. I am T'Challa, Prince of Wakanda. Who are you? Why are you breaking into our territory? A vigorous voice sounded, and a figure wearing a Black Panther battle suit appeared in sight. The head of the battle suit disappeared like water, revealing a young face. Prince. Lynn glanced at him lightly. The king of Wakanda. Doesn't he know any manners? The implication is that a mere prince is not qualified to talk to him. Hearing the sound, T'Challa was furious, and between the joints of both fists, the cat's claws rubbed out, and with a leap, he slid towards Lynn like a black spore. As the Prince of Wakanda, after eating the heart-shaped grass, he has gained super 5 senses, strength, speed, endurance, and reaction. Even his ability to resist magic is far beyond ordinary people. The attack at this moment is much faster and sharper than the members of the guard just now. Obviously, he has high-tech weapons, but he likes melee combat. Lynn pouted speechlessly and the constant five-ring magic, super dynamic vision, on his body made the opponent's movements seem to be in slow motion in his eyes. He still didn't do anything. However, in an instant, the surrounding wind suddenly picked up, and a high-speed, rotating tornado appeared out of thin air, whistling like a knife. Chala's complexion changed slightly, and she quickly avoided it, her figure extremely agile. But he had just moved, and rays of light fell on him, as if Wang Li Zhao had predicted his trajectory in advance. Dull, gravity, weakness, confusion. A lot of curse magic with only 1 and 2 rings appeared silently. Chala's magic resistance is not low, but in an instant he feels his feet sinking, his head is dazed, his body seems to be a little disobedient, and he recovers soon. But this moment is enough for a tornado to smear his face. Bang Soundbody, under the watchful eyes of everyone. His attack failed at the very beginning, and he flew out in the air. The Wakanda executives who came with him were all shocked. Shoot! Shoot! The muzzle of the flight device, suspended in the air, instantly emitted a dazzling light. Seeing this, Lynn suddenly had a smile on his face. I heard that Wakanda's vibranium is derived from a meteorite that fell from the sky many years ago. In his pupils, 2 flames burned silently. Do you want to see and see? Chapter 64, Megatron Wakanda. Vibranium deal. As Lynn's voice spread, everyone, including Chala, felt something strange. The surrounding temperature suddenly soared. You know, Wakanda is located in Africa, and it is extremely hot. Chala and others have long been used to the high temperature, but at this moment, they all feel a burning sensation that stings their skin. This burning sensation not only comes from the outside world, but also partly comes from the heart. It was as if their souls had been set on fire. Everyone raised their heads subconsciously in the high sky. A meteorite with huge amounts of roaring and falling with majestic flames became bigger and bigger from far to near, and the sky twisted strangely wherever it passed. A sense of terror and oppression that destroys the world crushes from the sky. Everyone's faces turned extremely pale in an instant, and Black Panther's tailbone trembled violently like a cat's hair exploded. Open a defensive cover. The energy is activated 100%. He hissed and roared for the first time, and his voice was full. In order to save energy, the energy shield on the outer layer of Wakanda usually only has a small part of defense power, and the most important functions are concealment and detection. Theoretically speaking, once the defensive cover is 100% opened, no weapon on Earth can break through. It seems that 990 is easy to block a meteorite, but that's in theory after all. Ever since Wakanda developed the energy shield technology, when did you experience the scene of the meteorite falling? It's not possible to drag a meteorite down. Let's test it. Especially the meteorite that appeared in the sky is obviously different from normal meteorites. During the high-speed fall, it rubbed against the atmosphere violently, but it didn't become smaller. Instead, as the distance approached, it became larger, visible to the naked eye. The color of the flames burning outside is also changing crazily. Red, crimson, maroon, purple, black. The flame carried by the meteorite turned black. Although I don't understand what this scene means, but such a strange flame immediately made Chala and everyone else stand on end, as if they saw endless collapse and destruction. And most importantly, when the black meteorite was only 100 meters away from the defensive cover, the second, third, and even endless small flame meteorites appeared in the rear, almost covering the entire area. Sky. This magic is not a single body. 6 rings meteor storm. 6 rings. Fire god extinguishing magic. This is Lynn's confidence to break into Wakanda alone. During this period of time, his magic power has improved by leaps and bounds, and the magic he creates every day has reached the level of the 6th ring. 6-ring magic, called a forbidden curse. The power is completely different from the 5-ring magic. Great Gift Crab's special Wakanda language. Chala and the rest of the people stopped breathing. The situation was too frightening. They suddenly lost confidence in Kandako's powerful skills. Is there anyone in this world who has mastered the power of a strong woman? Could it be that he is a legendary god? At the critical moment, King Chaka of Wakanda, who has never shown up, finally couldn't sit still. Mr. Lynn, Wakanda and Mutant have nothing wrong with each other. This is a misunderstanding. A significantly more luxurious and advanced flight machine roared over from the palace building, and an apologetic voice came from it. Please take back your super abilities. Wakanda will receive the King of Mutants with the most solemn etiquette. Lynn raised her eyebrows slightly. How good is it this early? The corner of his mouth curved into a half-smile. In the almost dull eyes of Chala and others, his right hand crossed the top of his head, pointed to the sky, stretched out a finger, and gave a light hook. The next moment, the densely packed small meteorites in the sky. The black flames suddenly disappeared, turning into bare meteorite fragments, crashing into the defensive cover. As for the largest one, the black flame rose even higher, but it suddenly drew a beautiful arc, brushing against the defensive cover and darting towards the far west. Over there is a primeval forest. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded suddenly, and the soaring black flames pierced through the sky, and half of the sky entered the night in an instant, as if everything in it was swallowed up. Even though they were far away, everyone still felt the strong heat wave and strong wind, and the earth trembled continuously for a long time. The sound of gasping for air came and went. Although I didn't witness the power of the meteorite with my own eyes, the terrible darkness almost swallowed even Wakanda. Obviously, it was definitely not an ordinary flame. If it really hits the defensive cover, the consequences could be disastrous. Fortunately, although the power of those small meteorite fragments is also very strong, they are firmly blocked by the defensive cover. Chala took a deep breath and looked at the speeding king's car. Father, the current king of Wakanda, also wearing the Black Panther battle suit, leaped from the flight gun. Several ups and downs appeared in front of Lynn. King to king. Mr. Lynn's super ability is amazing. Chaka is worthy of being the king of a country, and his insight and bearing are extraordinary. Seeing that Lynn received magic without any hesitation, he knew that Lynn was not malicious. Therefore, when he spoke, it was as if what happened just now hadn't happened at all. The attitude is extremely friendly. The strong are always respected, especially in Wakanda, a wild land with advanced technology, but advocating personal force. I, Chaka, the current king of Wakanda, welcome the noble king of Mutant. Chaka put away his mask and looked at Lynn with a smile on his face. I don't know if Mr. Lynn is here this time. What advice do you have? Meet King Chaka. Lynn's attitude was also very friendly, as if the scene just now had nothing to do with him. And his speech, as always, is simple and direct. I heard that although Wakanda lives in seclusion, it has the most advanced technological level on the Earth. I am here on behalf of Mutant to visit. Naturally, I want to establish diplomatic relations and strengthen technical exchanges between each other. This was too official. Chaka didn't react for a while. Black Panther and the others behind were even more bewildered. With all due respect, Chaka hesitated for a while, but said, Mutant doesn't seem to have established a country, so why talk about diplomacy? He just called Lynn the king of mutants, really just to save face. Wakanda has a powerful intelligence system, and it knows many things about the outside world. Naturally, it also knows that mutants are a group excluded from mainstream society. Such a group come to seek diplomatic relations. No matter how you think about it, it's a bit magical. Not now. Doesn't mean there won't be in the future. Lynn smiled, confident and at ease. Chaka was slightly shocked when he thought of the strength he had shown just now. Although Mutant does not have Wakanda's technology, it has a powerful super ability. If they can unite and build a nation, it seems that it is not an unimaginable thing. As soon as he thought of this, he stopped entanglement, but there were still doubts in his eyes. I don't know what Mr. Lynn's technical communication refers to. Wakanda's technology stands at the top of the earth. Technology exchange? What can Mutant bring us? This question, too, is what Black Panther and other Wakanda people want to know. Lynn made no secret of this. Definitely, it's vibranium. As soon as this statement came out, the pupils of all Wakanda people shrank. As predicted, everyone who comes to Wakanda is coming to Vibranium. Chapter 65 talk about the rules, but not completely. There is no doubt that Wakanda can have such a world-leading technology today, all relying on Vibranium and the technology derived from Vibranium. Without Vibranium, this is just a barbaric tribe. Because of this, the people of Wakanda value shock above everything else, or rather, possessiveness above all else. King Chaka was polite to Lynn last second, but when he heard the word Vibranium, his expression changed instantly. But he didn't directly refuse. Facing such an unfathomable mutant like Lynn, no matter how angry he was, he still had basic reason. Mr. Lynn wants to buy Vibranium? He frowned and thought for a while, then nodded. Although Wakanda lives away from the world, it also maintains some trade relations with the outside world. The price of Vibranium in the market is $10,000 per gram. I can make the decision and sell some to others. Apparently, he wanted to trade a little Vibranium for Lynn's kindness. It's just that he didn't expect it. Lynn laughed unabashedly when she heard this. $10,000 is a black market price, right? King Chaka is so insincere. Ignoring Chaka's gaze, he said to himself, "As far as I know, the main source of income for Wakanda is the sale of Vibranium. But over the years, you have been strictly controlling the quantity of exports, making the Vibranium outside extremely rare. Rare things are more expensive, it's normal. But the price of Vibranium can be so high. Is it really because of its original value? It's nothing more than there is no outside, but you are hoarding it." Lynn speaks eloquently and hits the nail on the head. As the only exotic metal in the world that can absorb kinetic energy, Vibranium is indeed extremely valuable, but by no means so ridiculously expensive, because the total amount of Vibranium is actually not small. Mr. Lynn, I hope you can understand that Vibranium is a gift from the leopard god to Wakanda. It has irreplaceable significance to our country, so the sale of 10 weights is a very small quantity. Chaka felt Lynn's dissatisfaction and frowned even tighter. For commercial transactions, the price is set by the seller. If the buyer can't accept it, he cannot buy it at all. It's fair, isn't it? That's the problem. Lynn was still smiling and glanced at the people of Wakanda. When did the leopard god give Vibranium to Wakanda? As far as I know, it is just an extraterrestrial meteorite that landed on the Earth many years ago. It's obviously something outside the Earth, but if it falls into your territory, it will always be yours. As soon as this remark came out, Sure Shaka's heart trembled. Only then did he realize that the uninvited guest in front of him seemed to have an extraordinary understanding of Wakanda and Vibranium. Even the origin of Vibranium is clear. Vibranium is definitely our. Black Panther T'Challa at the back couldn't help interjecting when he heard the words. Lynn cut him off directly. Besides, when the meteorite fell, all 5 of your tribes wanted to keep it for yourself. You even went through a long war for this. In the end, because of the emergence of the first generation of Black Panther, you defeated the other 4 tribes and stabilized your situation. Firmly occupy this Vibranium mine. There was an undisguised sarcasm on the corner of Lynn's mouth. So, if I kill you, can I keep it as my own? In front of the king of Wakanda, he bluntly said the matter of destroying the country. The faces of all Wakanda have changed once again. No matter how fearful King Chaka was, he couldn't help but snorted coldly at this moment. If Mutant invades Wakanda, you will be greeted only with death and blood. Lynn dismissed his threats. If I want to rob, can you stop me? Contemptuous eyes scanned the audience. All those who looked at him subconsciously thought of the extremely terrifying meteor storm a few minutes ago. The faces changed color instantly, but no one was afraid. Instead, they all held the weapons in their hands tightly, and some even took up the weapons and aimed at Lynn again in a panic. "Drop your weapons." King Chaka hurriedly stopped him. Looking into Lynn's eyes, it was extremely complicated. Mr. Lynn appeared here above board. Obviously, he didn't mean to be an enemy of Wakanda. It's just, your way of negotiating is really a little bit aggressive. That's right. Lynn is bargaining. And King Chaka clearly understands that too. I came here with sincerity. You are wasting each other's time. Lynn rubbed her hands together, as if a big fireball was about to come out at any moment. So let's skip these nonsense. Mutant is going to purchase vibranium on a large scale for a long time. King Chaka, give me great price. Long term, on a massive scale. The pupils in Chaka's eyes shrank slightly. He is definitely unwilling to sell vibranium on a large scale. If Lynn really wants to grab it, he will lead the army without hesitation and fight Lynn to the end. However, Lynn is very polite and just wants to spend money on purchases. In this way, this is just a buyer, not an enemy. Wakanda naturally has no need to fight against it, but this buyer didn't follow the rules completely. The meteor storm just now was undoubtedly a deterrent to Wakanda. Chaka couldn't help but sigh deeply. Ask for flowers, he knew that from the very beginning, every move and every word Lynn made was paving the way for this negotiation. This undoubtedly makes him quite passive, facing such a well-behaved person. But not completely. He was completely unsure. If Wakanda rejected this deal, would the terrifying mutant in front of him really summon meteorites again and set off a bloodbath? After all, go ahead, it's pointless. Sell it, and don't be reconciled. It's frustrating and helpless. $5,000, 1 gram. After pondering for a long time, King Chaka still made a decision. Just make friends with Wakanda and Mutant and hope that our friendship will continue in the future. Well, the price went straight to half. Seeing Lynn's strange expression, he trembled in his heart and quickly added another sentence. Shocked purchase so far. The quantity is not much, and the cost of mining is also high. This is already the most sincere price. It was beyond his expectation. Lynn didn't want to bargain anymore and nodded happily. Deal. 100 kilograms per month, that's 5E. Before he finished speaking, King Chaka's lips twitched again. According to Wakanda's information, the vibranium shield held by the world-famous Captain America at that time was only 5.44 kilograms, and it was also mixed with original adamantium. Good guy. How many shields can be made with 100 kilograms of vibranium? Also every month? Wakanda has mines and can't afford to dig like this. 50 kilograms. King Chaka quickly opened his mouth and started another round of negotiations. And it must be traded every 3 months. This amount is 200 kilograms a year. It's barely enough for now. Make a deal. Lynn nodded, looking at King Chakara's eyes a little playfully. Wakanda's technology department needs vibranium and also needs to go out to ensure financial resources. In this case, it can easily trade 200 kilograms per year. Obviously, the reserves of the vibranium mine at the foot are richer than imagined. Wakanda is indeed the richest country on Earth. With that in mind, Lynn is ready to pay the bill. 50 kilograms in 3 months, that's 250 million. He spread his hands, and under the eyes of Chaka, Black Panther, and all the Wakanda people, he said, "This money is not too much, but unfortunately, I have too many places to use the money. I'm afraid I won't be able to get it out." Everyone was stunned. This person is here to play tricks on us? Death. Chapter 66. True layman with money Lynn. There seemed to be a moment of silence in the atmosphere. The look of surprise in King Chaka's eyes couldn't go away, and he said uncertainly after a long while, "Mr. Lynn, wouldn't it be to deal first, then pay? How is this possible?" Lynn looked at him with a strange face. "Since it's a transaction, definitely you have to pay for it and deliver it. I'm here to purchase vibranium, not to rob. So how can I not pay?" He speaks righteously and will not punish the Wakanda people. Don't you have no money? How to pay the bill? As I said just now, this visit is to promote technical exchanges between Wakanda and Mutant, Lynn said solemnly. Since vibranium is the cornerstone of Wakanda's technology, then we Mutant definitely have to show our technological achievements. As long as Wakanda also purchases our products, won't I be rich? Good guy. The people of Wakanda call it a good guy. The king of Mutant in front of him actually wants to earn Wakanda's money, and then use Wakanda's money to buy Wakanda's vibranium. It's not impossible, but the problem is Wakanda's technology beats all countries in the world. What products can Mutant have for Wakanda to purchase? Could it be that this person can't buy and sell by force. Thinking of this, the young Black Panther once again became angry with 837. In his opinion, Lynn was obviously still relying on her strong strength to rob in brazenness. His face changed instantly, but just as she was about to speak, Lynn had already brought out her own product. Rays of light flickered, and what appeared in front of the Wakanda people were small glass bottles filled with liquids of various colors, and a straw man with the size of the palm of his hand that seemed to be made by hand. These are magic potions. As Lynn said, the fingers of her right hand moved slightly, and a small glass bottle slowly floated in front of King Chaka. The liquid inside was a translucent color, and a flash of light flashed in it from time to time. Therapeutic potion can quickly recover injuries and physical strength. Soul potion. After drinking, it can keep the mind pure, concentrate on it, and not be disturbed by external objects. Physical potion. The effect is to improve perseverance. Take a sip, and the upper limit of endurance fatigue will be greatly increased. The potion of rage can greatly improve strength, speed, and reaction. Even if you drink it when you are seriously injured, you can instantly liven up. Definitely, after the effect of the medicine ends, there will be 10 side effects. Frost potion, as the name suggests, after drinking it, the body will be in a state of resistance to low temperature. In some scenarios, it is very effective. Lynn talked eloquently, telling the effects of more than a dozen magic potions in one breath. As a mage, he definitely knows how to mix magic potions and make magic props, and all the potions that he took out at this moment are elementary level potions without exception. He definitely won't say, these are just what he deployed randomly during the 10 years when he was extremely bored. On the contrary, in his description, the effect of these potions can be called bursting. That's the truth. Although it is only an elementary level magic potion, it has already far exceeded the normal technological level. This is similar to Wakanda's vibranium technology. Mutant developed a magical civilization. King Chaka definitely didn't know this. With Lynn's introduction, his mind shook slightly, and he felt an unimaginable sense of horror. Civilization is the soul of an ethnic group and the foundation of country. Although Wakanda lives in seclusion, he is also very clear that the term mutant has always been a collective term for those who have awakened the X gene. Mutants are scattered all over the place, and apart from the commonality of super ability, they don't have any other connections such as blood, culture, and inheritance. Strictly speaking, it's not even a group. But now, they actually have civilization. It has to be said that the thinking of the king of a country is completely different from that of ordinary people. Black Panther and others only saw that these potions seemed to be very powerful, but King Chaka saw something different from them. He finally understood that for Lynn, he dared to call himself the king of mutants. No matter what the current situation is, the young man in front of him has the power to twist the mutants into a single rope. At the same time, he seems to have planted a seed of civilization in the mutant group. Technological civilization, completely different magic civilization. What kind of confidence is this? What kind of foresight? These magic potions, are they really that effective? King Chaka's attitude finally changed, and he regarded this sudden negotiation as an equal exchange. No longer because of Lynn's great strength, more because he felt the same kingly thinking in Lynn. In layman's terms, he thinks that Lynn has the image of a king, and that this one person has emerged from the mutant group, and it is by no means a delusion to build a country. Whether the effect is good or not, you will know if you try it. Lynn smiled. He shot a few wind blades casually, cutting a few small wounds on a member of the royal guard next to Black Panther, and blood flowed out. The woman in Wakanda was really tough, and she was injured suddenly. The guard frowned slightly, but didn't say a word. Just as she was about to speak, she saw the healing potion appear in front of her. As if controlled by an invisible hand, the glass bottle opened automatically, and the liquid inside shot out, and before she could react, it had already entered her mouth. All Wakanda could see, the wounds on her body congealed quickly. One after another's eyes changed quietly. They were not shocked. Wakanda's vibranium technology already contains extremely powerful medical technology, and even if they suffer from extremely serious injuries, they could be cured quickly, as reflected in the movie. But that was going into the medical room after all. As for the healing potion in front of you, you only need to carry it with you, which is extremely convenient. This is undoubtedly very valuable to the warriors of Wakanda. It might not be worth much, but already eligible to trade with Wakanda. Thinking of this, a group of Wakanda talents finally understood that the exchange of technical achievements that Lynn mentioned was not taking advantage of Wakanda, and as the experiment continued, they could not help falling into Lynn's rhythm. The magic potions he took out were all targeted. Spirit Potion is aimed at research-oriented talents. Physique Potions can make the miners of the Mountain Tribe more hard-working. Rage Potion, making Wakanda's warriors stronger on the battlefield. Frost Potion, allowing Wakanda people to adapt to the most feared low-temperature climate. One magic potion after another. All Wakanda can use. The contempt in Black Panther's and others' hearts quickly disappeared, and their eyes were full of curiosity about these magic potions. And this curiosity, as Lynn showed the last product, directly turned into firmness. This is a magic prop, a stand-in straw man. Under Lynn's control, the rather rough straw man stuck to the guard member's body, and the next moment, an ice arrow appeared abruptly, piercing one end into her throat. Before the Wakanda people had time to be shocked, they saw a ray of light suddenly flashed by the stand-in straw man, and the next moment, the member of the guard appeared 3 meters away. Those pierced by ice arrows are just straw people. The effect of this thing is actually the same as the name. It can save embarrassment at critical moments. Purchase. At this moment, almost all Wakanda people looked at King T'Chaka involuntarily. Although no one spoke, the meaning in everyone's eyes was the same. The same is true for Black Panther. This kind of magic item that can save lives at a critical moment is worth 100 times more than those magic potions. This goes beyond Wakanda's vibranium technology. King T'Chaka's expression was also a little excited. He firmly believed that all the Wakanda people are brave fighters, but no matter how fearless people are, they respect death at a distance. Who wouldn't want a chance to save their lives? And with Wakanda's wealth, I'm afraid that all members of the royal family, high-level tribes, and even outstanding elites in the guards can be equipped with one. Members of the royal family can even carry a few more on them. The right to trade this thing must be in the hands of the royal family, under the watchful eyes of everyone. King T'Chaka did not disappoint his subjects. He looked at Lynn and said proudly, "Mr. Lynn, let's not talk about the deal of these magic potions. Just this stand-in straw man. How much is it? $10,000? Lynn smiled half-smile and said the same price as vibranium. King T'Chaka said dryly, "Give me 100 first. Don't King T'Chaka have that sense of humor?" Lynn looked at him speechlessly. This is a life-saving magic item. How can there be so many? Even if there is, how can it really be bought for $10,000? Just 1 million can save 100 cases? Are Wakanda's warriors so worthless? T'Chaka froze for a moment. The excited mood of Black Panther and others suddenly stagnated. These words, they seem to have said similarly just now. At this moment, 0.5 is passed from Lynn's mouth. This is somewhat ironic, but King T'Chaka didn't care. It doesn't matter, Mr. Lynn, no matter how many stand-ins you can provide, and no matter how much you ask for. We want it in Wakanda. Obviously, Wakanda's wealth gave him great confidence. Still, Lynn shook her head. The greatest value of Wakanda's vibranium is to make weapons and equipment. It is definitely better to have it. It doesn't matter if you don't have it. In fact, I don't know that you have vibranium in Wakanda on the earth. He said seriously, with a serious expression on his face. But my stuntman is something that can save lives at a critical moment. Looking at the whole world, it is a unique treasure. Compared with vibranium, its value is much stronger than that of vibranium. So, add money. The Wakanda people were stunned again, and then heard Lynn's real offer. Only accept vibranium trades. 50 kilograms, vibranium, 10 grass figures. And it will be traded once every 3 months, only 3 at a time. Lynn said very seriously, although my magic potion has imperceptible dependencies, Although my stand-in straw man can be made easily, there's no cost at all, and it is time-sensitive, and it will become a waste when it expires. B. Do you Wakanda want to buy? You have to pay more. Chapter 67 Hulk appears. We need X-Men. The so-called transaction is nothing more than asking for a high price and paying back the money when it lands. No matter how rich Wakanda is, it is impossible for him to pay a terrifying price of $250 million for a straw man. Lynn knows all about this. Therefore, after some haggling, the two parties finally reached a consensus that the price of the stand-in straw man was set at 10 kilograms of vibranium, which was also traded once every 3 months, and the quantity of each time was set at 5. This made Lynn further sure that Wakanda's vibranium reserves are definitely quite a lot. The so-called price is only for outsiders. For Wakanda itself, this thing may be an alternative metal currency. When they spend it, they don't feel bad at all. In this way, Lynn can get 50 kilograms of vibranium from Wakanda every 3 months just for the stuntman, which is the same as the transaction quota promised by Wakanda, which means he doesn't need a dime if you add Wakanda's purchase of those elementary level magic potions. He can still make a fortune. It is probably the only one to do this in business. So much so that after the negotiation ended, all the Wakanda people, including King T'Chaka and Black Panther, looked at him with an inexplicable resentment. In the past, they harvested the trading partners who wanted vibranium. This time, the identity was reversed. They became cut leaks. But there is no way. Things are rare and expensive. Don't say they've seen magic props that can save lives at critical moments. They've never even heard of them before. Now that they're lucky enough to come across them, is there any reason not to buy them? Even though Lynn has made it clear that this stand-in is only valid for 1 year. They should buy it or have to buy it. To put it bluntly, for Wakanda, this small amount of money is nothing more than 9 cows and 117. The deal is settled. Should we talk about technical exchanges? The trip was full of rewards, and Lynn was extremely satisfied. But he was not satisfied, and looked at King T'Chaka with a smile. Since Mutant and Wakanda will have a long-term transaction in the future, how about sending a liaison officer each? Liaison. King T'Chaka was taken aback. He scoffed at this before, thinking that there was no need for Mutant and Wakanda to communicate, but now he has changed his mind. Mutant's new Xavier School is about to open its enrollment recently, and it still lacks some knowledgeable professors. Wakanda has so many scientific and technological talents. How about sending one to the academy as a visiting professor? Lynn obviously had a goal long ago, looking at the crowd behind Black Panther. How about Princess Sure? There's one thing to say. When Lynn watched movies in her previous life, she didn't like Wakanda very much. But this place does possess technology far beyond the current world. Especially Black Panther's younger sister, Princess Sure, is definitely a smart person at the same level as Tony, or even better. Her nanotechnology and a lot of black technology is the master of Canon's vibranium technology. At the moment, she was still a young girl of 18 or 19 years old. Hearing his own name suddenly, he couldn't help being stunned. Me? You don't need to stay at Xavier's school all the time. Just go to attend a few classes when you have time and take care of the transactions between the two parties by the way. Lynn looked at the sound, smiled, and said, "Definitely. I will also send a liaison officer who satisfies you." King T'Chaka clearly has some hesitation. Princess Sure herself is very interested. She is just at the age of puberty, and she is extremely curious about everything in the outside world. I've read the news outside, and I heard that the address of Xavier School is only one big hole. Did you transfer it to another place? The academy is full of mutants. Isn't there a lot of weird super abilities? Are those professors mutants too? In addition to super abilities, does the academy also provide scientific knowledge? A lot of questions came out of her mouth. Black Panther quickly stopped it with his eyes. Lynn smiled and was about to speak when the cell phone rang suddenly. Then, Alice projected a light curtain in the air, and the name of the caller displayed on it was Mr. Lon. Speaking of professors, the college's new chemistry and genetics professors are on the phone. Lynn's eyes moved, and a familiar arc emerged from the corner of her mouth. Mr. Land's call means the opportunity he has been waiting for a long time. finally reached. After hanging up the phone casually, he looked at Princess Surue. Are you interested in going to a good show together? Good show. Princess Surue was eager to try and looked at her father. King Chaka originally didn't intend to agree, but the picture projected by Alice made the pupils of his eyes shrink slightly. Wakanda's energy shield has the effect of isolating external signals, but Lynn was able to receive the call. Does this mean that in addition to the magical civilization, Mutant also possesses a technology that, at least in some respects, is not weaker than Wakanda? Thinking of this, he found that Lynn and Mutant must be given the highest degree of attention. So, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he nodded. Princess Surue was overjoyed. Then leave it at that, as Lynn said. With a light step on his feet, red flames shot up into the sky, and within a few breaths, a complex and mysterious small magic circle was burned on the ground around him. This is a subarray connected to the Xavier School's target array. The next moment, under the shocked and vigilant eyes of everyone in Wakanda, the light on the teleportation circle suddenly flashed, and the white-haired, leather-clothed Storm slowly appeared in sight. Please allow me to introduce. This is Mrs. Arolo, the professor of Xavier School, and she will be in charge of the subsequent transaction with Wakanda. As Lynn spoke, she gestured to Princess Surue with her eyes. The two stepped into the teleportation array, and both disappeared. The light from the magic circle disappeared, and Storm looked at King Chaka with a smile. Then he saw Black Panther behind him, and his expression changed slightly. Chala, Aurora. Black Panther's expression also changed at the same time. The two actually seemed to know each other and have a close relationship. King Chaka was slightly taken aback. He is very clear that Lynn sent a dark-skinned mutant, obviously because Wakanda is a black country, and Storm is the most suitable person for this liaison, but seeing this scene, he suddenly had a strange feeling. Just a coincidence? The light fades. Lynn appears at Xavier's school. The teleportation circle that was originally hidden in his room has been transferred to the playground, and this will be the place where all new students will report in the future. Both Shadowcat and Professor X are waiting here. Wolverine was smoking a cigar leisurely, and when she saw Lynn appearing, she joked teasingly. Our honorary principal is back? How does it feel that everyone is busy, but you're taking a leisurely vacation? Ever since he broke Wilhelm Stryker's base, he was in a good mood and gradually got rid of the previous look of bitterness and hatred. Lynn smiled and said, Mr. Logan, you don't look like you're too busy. That can't be helped. The college's enrollment information has been sent out, but during this time, no one has signed up. Logan shrugged. When Professor X heard the words, a rare look of sadness appeared on his calm face. Lynn, it seems that the effect of turning public opinion is not satisfactory. It is still a bit early for us to open the enrollment. The timing is right, Professor. Lynn has a different opinion on this. The image of X-Men has been established, and the existence of Xavier School is now almost known to everyone. Those mutants who know the admissions information but have not signed up are nothing more than uncertain in their hearts. Is it just to expose my identity? Exposed in front of Mutant is also exposed. Both Professor X and Logan clearly understand this point. To put it bluntly, it's not just ordinary people who don't believe in mutants. Mutants hidden in every corner of the world also lack trust in Xavier's School. After all, exposing identity means huge amounts of risk. The most important thing is that no one knows whether Xavier's School can continue to operate. The matter of open enrollment has obviously touched the bottom line of the high-level human beings, and it will inevitably be strongly counterattacked. Our students are in hesitation, and what we have to do now is to dispel their doubts and let them know that Xavier's School has the ability to protect them. It takes an opportunity. Now, the opportunity has come. Lynn was not in a hurry to introduce Princess Surue, but looked at Professor X methodically and said, This is why I asked Katie to call you here. Professor X and Logan looked at each other and said in unison, What opportunity? Lynn turned to Shadowcat. Shadowcat was already prepared, took out his mobile phone, and a light curtain projected out, and the evening news of Global Daily appeared on the screen. The title is impressively. After the Green Titan, another more violent Green Titan appeared in New York City in 230, fighting the military. The Twisted Covenant city was devastated, and countless people were killed and injured. The faces of Professor X and Logan changed drastically. Before they could speak, Shadowcat had switched to another screen. It is the mutant channel of Daily X. This channel has only released one X-Men documentary since it was launched. And at the moment, the original comments below the video have all been deleted, replaced by a sentence that is all about maintaining formation. We need X-Men. There are not only tens of thousands of dense messages, but also an increase of thousands of messages per second. Professor Logan, this is the opportunity. Lynn's voice was as calm as ever, but in the ears of Professor X and Logan, it was thunderous and deafening. They understood right away turbulent public opinion is an opportunity. In the past, when people encountered such a disaster, their first reaction would be to curse the mutant, thinking that the two Green Titans were monsters transformed from a certain mutant gene mutation. But now, they thought of X-Men for the first time. This is without a doubt huge amounts of progress. Under Lynn's series of methods, the public opinion against mutant has been reversed a lot. And after a period of continuous fermentation, finally stimulated by this Red Titan, more and more people realize mutants can save the world. Under the call of the whole people, make a strong appearance, solve the Red Titan, and save countless people from life and death. One can imagine how high the reputation of X-Men and Xavier School will reach. At that time, all doubts and hesitation in the hearts of those mutants hiding in the corners of the world will be gone. This is what Lynn refers to as the overwhelming momentum in the torrent. Logan, get Scott and Jean, we're off right now. Professor X took a deep breath, without any hesitation order, as if he was 10 years younger all of a sudden. I will personally lead the team for this operation. Chapter 68. Another sin made by the military? Manhattan, Broadway. More than a dozen Osprey fighters hovered in the sky, chasing a battle below. General Ross sat on the fighter plane, his face so gloomy that it seemed that water could drip out. Originally, during this period of time, he was in a pretty good mood. The Weapon X project that Wilhelm Stryker was in charge of was exposed, and he was also arrested. After the interrogation, he spent the rest of his life in prison. This caused the military to lose the help of Weapon X in terms of dealing with super ability incidents. In the Greenskin project he was in charge of naturally received a greater degree of attention. After communicating with General Scudder last time, the higher-ups have increased their support for him, and they must complete the Greenskin plan no matter what. The plan, ostensibly, is to eliminate the threat posed by the Green Titan Hulk. But the core is the blood of the Green Titan. Through capturing and researching the Green Titan, a controllable genetic drug is developed, and the Green Titan controlled by the military is mass-produced. That's why General Ross didn't care about mutant at all. In his opinion, as long as Hulk is caught, everything will be fine. However, the progress of the matter far exceeded his expectations. Hulk, who fled outside, finally returned to Twist City, which indeed gave the military a chance to capture him. However, the military has exhausted all means, and there is no way to catch Hulk. In the end, it was Bruce Banner who wanted to heal himself, went to a scientist named Dr. Lon on the internet, injected the antidote developed by the other party, temporarily lost the ability to transform, and was caught by the military. God testifies, at that time, General Ross was full of ambition, and he felt that today was the happiest day in his life. He can't wait to go back and study the power of the Green Titan. But at this moment, hate appears. Bronski, that damn BD, the injection of super soldier serum is not enough, and he wants to get his hands on Hulk's calendar Emperor. Shoot me. Shoot hard. General Ross' angry voice spread throughout the entire Osprey fighter plane. The soldier with the machine gun looked confused. General, there are two big guys below. Which one should we help? Definitely the green one. Shoot me the other one in half. General Ross' anger had reached its peak. On the one hand, it was because the originally smooth plan had gone so terribly wrong. And on the other hand, it was because after the hatred appeared, he found sadly that the only person he could rely on was Hulk. The Hulk he hunted for years. This made him so proud that he couldn't accept it at all. But at the moment, he had to order to help the former enemy, because from the perspective of the fighter plane, Hulk was no match for Bronski at all. After Bronski was injected with Hulk serum, he became extremely violent and beat Hulk almost the whole time. If this continues, the entire Broadway will be demolished by two monsters. The soldiers executed the order perfectly, and the high explosive machine gun fired a storm of bullets. Ito, meaningless. I've always been curious. Where did the military get the courage to hunt and kill Hulk everywhere? They should know that their weapons can't break Hulk's defense at all, right? Do they know? On the top of a building with only a dozen floors, Lynn watched the battle between the Abomination and the Hulk from a commanding height, with curiosity written all over her face. Shadowcat Katie curled her lips. Probably this is what you said about the self-confidence of fans, Lynn shrugged. Tony is here. In the distant sky, red and gold meteors flew towards him quickly and soon joined the battlefield. Pulse guns and various missiles shot towards the Abomination as if they didn't need money. But unfortunately, with the Mark X's firepower, facing monsters like Abomination, the damage is really limited. Poor Tony, he obviously wants to retreat to study a more advanced steel battle suit, but someone always disrupts his rhythm. Lynn was a little embarrassed. The last time he interrupted Tony's research. This time, it actually had something to do with him. He sighed softly and said, "Let's get started. Give Tony some time to go back and study the battle suit." Okay. Shadowcat couldn't bear to press it long ago and immediately activated the setup mobile phone upon hearing this. Hello, audience friends. The people who were frantically commenting on the Mutant channel suddenly discovered that the channel had started a live video broadcast, and a beautiful female reporter who once appeared in the Mutant documentary once again appeared in the camera. I saw Shadowcat in the camera with an extremely serious expression. The voice was also full of
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.